Good evening, everyone. It's 6 o'clock, and we are here at our March 18th council meeting. And we will start, I'd like to call the meeting to order and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. If we would all stand, please. Ready, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And if you'd all please remain standing, we have an invocation by Pastor Greg Quirk.
Let's pray together. Well, Father, we come together tonight and we pray over this meeting. I know that there's a great weight of responsibility that our mayor and our council carry when it comes to being leaders in our community. Give them wisdom tonight and making decisions that will continue to strengthen our values as a great city here. And I also pray a special blessing upon all of our city employees, our administrators. Help us to be reminded to go out of our way to stop and thank those that are maintaining our streets and our parks, for our 911 dispatchers, our fire, our police. May they know how important they are to every Gilroy. And thank you for your grace and your love that you bestow upon us all. We pray this in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Okay, item 1.4, City Clerk's report on posting the agenda.
Madam Mayor, the agenda was posted on Thursday, March 14th at 3:05 p.m. After it was posted, we noticed that the full agreement between Gilroy Unified School District and the PD for the SRO contract was not included, and we re-uploaded it to the report.
All right, thank you. Roll call.
Councilmember Rocco?
Here.
Councilmember Armendariz?
Here.
Councilmember Marks?
Here.
Councilmember Hilton?
Here.
Councilmember Klein?
Here.
Councilmember Tovar?
Here.
Mayor Blanford?
Here.
7 present.
All right. Under orders of the day, we have none. Under 1.7, employee introductions, we have quite a few. We'll start with Chief Espinoza for the Police Department.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, and members of the community, very happy to introduce our newest two additions to our team. We'll start off with David Carter. David Carter was hired March 1st as the Detention Services Officer. He may look familiar. We initially hired him as a community service officer. He's worked for the city for the last year and a half. And prior to that, he had experience in customer service, transportation, logistics, and private security. David has 3 children and 2 mastiffs named Ozzy and Olivia. He enjoys taking his family fishing and camping with yearly trips to the snow at Lake Tahoe. He's excited to be here with the Gilroy Police Department and contribute to the team. His goal is to provide excellent customer service to the community and treat every community member with respect and dignity as they deserve. Please help me welcome David Carter.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. I'm really excited to be here. I really like this position. It's been a privilege and an honor to work with this agency. It's full of amazing people. I just want to continue to learn and grow and be an asset to the city and the department. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have our newest police officer, Zachary Tolentino. His date of hire was March 8th, 2024. Graduated from Thomas Edison State University with a bachelor's degree in business administration. Hired in 2017 as a part-time juvenile institution officer for the county of San Benito, and in 2019, he was sworn in as a deputy probation officer with County San Benito. Supervised a variety of caseloads, including high-risk juveniles, adults, sex offenders, and gang members. Served as a department firearms instructor, Glock armor, taser instructor, and expandable baton instructor. From 2021 to 2023, Zach was assigned to the San Benito County Special Intelligence Unit, which focused on prevention, intervention, and suppression of gang and violent crime. He's married to Emma since 2017, and together they have 2 kids, daughter Riley, 2 years old, and son Tyler, who they had a month ago while at the academy. Zach plays several musical instruments, including the piano, guitar, drums, and banjo, and participates weekly in the music ministry at his local church. enjoys photography and spending time with his 2 children. And he's pretty humble and bashful, but as a recruit graduating the academy, he was one of the highest honored recruits in recent history, receiving the best and overall academy recruit. Please help me welcome Zach Tolentino.
Extremely honored to have the opportunity to protect and serve this community. I'm really thankful for the support from my family, from Chief Espinoza and the Gilroy Police Department, and I look forward to having the support of the community of Gilroy as well. So thank you.
Welcome. Thank you. Okay, Harjo, Finance Director, do you have someone to introduce? Yes.
All right. Good evening, Mayor, Council members, members of the community. Harjo Tsanga. I have the pleasure of introducing our newest member on the IT team, Sal Ramirez. He is joining us as a network administrator. He comes to us from Valley Water with over 15 years of experience working on various aspects of information technology systems. He specializes in systems and network administration. For Gilroy, he will be managing the city's overall network infrastructure, which includes voice, data, Wi-Fi, and related software and hardware systems. Sal values continuous learning and professional growth, which is very critical, as you know, as we all know, that technology changes very quickly. So it is very important that we have our IT team stay up to date on the latest developments. A little bit about Sal's personal life. He grew up in Gilroy, and he is an active member of the Gilroy community. And outside of work, he enjoys spending time with his family and all the current amenities that our community has to offer. I look forward to working with Sal and his contributions to the city's IT team. Please join me in congratulating and welcoming Sal.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Just want to say I'm thankful for the opportunity to work in my community. I'm a Gilroyan, so I'm excited to work in this community. Excited to work with everyone here at the city, collaborate with everyone, and especially the IT team. As a network admin, looking forward to contributing to the department's goals and objectives as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. Okay, Bryce?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So it's my pleasure to introduce Kylie Katsuyoshi, who recently joined the Administration Department as a Management Assistant. She has come to us from a short stay in the Public Works Department, where she worked as an office assistant in operations. Before the City of Gilroy, Kylie worked for the City of Morgan Hill's Recreation Department, where she gained experience in working for local government, serving a diverse population, and how to provide excellent customer service. She has a bachelor's degree in business administration with a double major in marketing and management from the University of Denver. And while in college, she was also a member of the Division I women's swimming and diving team. Kylie grew up in Morgan Hill and moved to Gilroy in 2019. In her free time, she enjoys spending time with her friends, family, and 2 dogs, trying new places to eat, going to the beach, and camping. She is passionate about serving her local community and is excited to make further contributions in her new role. Please welcome Kylie.
Good evening, Mayor Blankley, City Council members, and members of the public. I'd like to say thank you for this opportunity to continue to work for the City of Gilroy and for the community I live in. I'm very excited about my new role and I hope to make a positive impact. I'd like to thank Bryce for your kind words, Jimmy, as well as the entire administration team for your warm welcome, as well as the Public Works Department for their support in my transition. Thank you.
Okay, and lastly, Sharon?
Good evening, Mayor, Council members, and members of the community. I'd like to welcome Christy Thomas. She's our new Housing and Community Services Manager. If you recall, during this budget process, we had created a new division and a new division manager, so we're very glad to have her on board. Christy has a bachelor's degree in biology. Over the last 9 years, she worked for the City of Morgan Hill. First 2 years in the building department, providing customer service to customers at the permit counter, assisting them with their building permits. And in the last 7 years, she worked under housing, and she has created and implemented a variety of housing programs, provided housing resources to the community, and developed housing reports. Outside of work, she enjoys spending time with her family, doing some traveling, hiking, and also growing flowers. So please join me in welcoming Christy.
Hello, Council, Jimmy, public. I'm very, very, very excited and so happy to be able to, help lead this community with all that's to come. I feel like I've been given such a warm welcome and just kind of boots on the ground already. So I hope to be here for many years to come and to collaborate with everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Welcome. Okay, welcome to all. Thank you for being here. All right, under ceremonial items, we have none. Under council correspondence, we have a letter that's in your packet. Item 4 is presentations to the council. This is for anyone who'd like to speak on something that's not on tonight's agenda. Do we have any speakers, Beth?
We do. We have 2 speakers.
All right.
Beatrice Socher and Ron Kirkish.
Okay. Yes, you come on up. And you have 3 minutes, and it should say it right on the timer there.
Okay. I wrote it, so I would. So hello. Thank you for the opportunity to speak and for the posting that was recently put on your website regarding the water waste credit card fee and rate adjustment that was approved by you last October. This was the letter that was posted that I really appreciate, and I would like to request that the changes that were made be brought to the next City Council agenda when possible for further explanation and clarification, in particular to the confusion as to how payments are to be processed, and especially in terms of how payments, I've been experiencing 3 months of fines despite the fact that I've been paying my bill as I have been for the last number of years. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Ron Kirkish.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, community. Tonight I will be giving the Council and community a long disquisition broken up into 3-minute segments over the next several months during the public speaking portion of the Council agenda regarding the Plan Bay Area 2050 report promoted by Councilman Hilton and his agenda to bring Gilroy into the 21st century. The way to a blissful unicornia. By means of the echo chambers of the extreme radical left's invective, Svengali demagogues who make up the leadership and membership of the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, aka MTC, and the Association of Bay Area Governments, aka ABAG, and promoted locally by Gilroy Councilman Zach Hilton, whose oft-stated agenda and goal is to bring Gilroy into the 21st century by celebrating the plan's $1.4 trillion scheme in the Gilroy Dispatch, Gilroy Life, other media outlets, and on the days of the City Council. Tonight, I'm launching my own aspiration to begin a consequential series of colloquies during the time allotted for public speaking to share with our Gilroy community and fully expose the truth regarding the Utopian Plan 2050 and raise the hood to fully display for all Gilroyans to see and perfectly understand what Mr. Hilton's dystopian vision is for our community so that there are no surprises in the future. My next meeting, I'm going to be discussing the plan's redistribution of the wealth, your wealth. It's going to be a $205 billion plan that will give every household an average of $500 per month, what they call a universal income, basic income. It's an average, implying that some will get more, some will get less, or none. There will be a whole lot more to come over the next several meetings of the Gilroy City Council. Thank you, and best regards to you all.
Okay. Concluding public comment, correct? Okay. Moving on to agenda item 5, which is reports of council members. Councilmember Bracco. Councilmember Armendariz.
No report.
Councilmember Marks.
No report.
Councilmember Hilton.
Thank you. Yesterday, I returned from the annual CivicWell conference with over 100 elected reps around the state, where we discussed state, local, and regional issues. The event supports local elected officials with tools and partnership opportunities to implement innovative solutions to build thriving communities. I did not only attend as a council member, but as a Silicon Valley Clean Energy Director and VTA Policy Advisory Committee member. We were immersed with conversations around transportation, clean energy, housing, climate action, climate change, and disaster resilience. I'll be taking what I learned along with the funding opportunities back into each of these organizations that I represent and during regular meetings with their administrations. I am proud to have worked with Representative Zoe Lofgen on identifying and submitting a project for her community project funding request fiscal year 24, and excited to announce the City of Gilroy will be receiving $350,000 as a part of the Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2024. This project will benefit a senior housing project located in our downtown Gateway District and build off the recent successes of community-based programs that are a benefit to our residents. Year to date, my office has worked with our state and federal legislators to secure $5.2 million for project funding that directly benefits our residents. Lastly, I'm looking forward to continuing the Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion training this month with our city staff. We are raising awareness of the system changes, letting staff know it's a priority, and further educating our workforce about this important endeavor that we are taking as an organization and community. These trainings will be the core to raising our local government to a different level. Thank you.
Councilmember Klein.
Yeah, just one quick thing. I just wanted to point out this weekend we saw the return of our really beloved Gilroy Bowl, and it was a great return. And I just want to say Mr. Leal did a great job and with his team and what they're doing there, and just a great place. So it's something we can be proud of as a gift that he's given back to the city of a bowling alley that's been there for many, many years. So we're really thankful for that. Thanks.
Councilmember Tovar.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple things. Just want to extend a huge thank you to everyone that I had the opportunity to meet with or speak with regarding the concerns for public safety. I appreciate the dedication that you have for our community, and we'll have more discussions in the near future. So thank you for that. In addition, I want to thank all our residents that showed up to support all our local businesses this weekend. Seeing so many people downtown and throughout Gilroy contributing to our local economy was really nice to see. So thank you for that. And as Councilmember Klein mentioned, congratulations to Gilroy Bowl. I think many of us had the opportunity to go and kind of, experience that, and going to learn how to bowl so I can join the league. So I want to thank everybody that came out to support them as well. That's it.
Okay, I have items on transportation with VTA. At our last VTA board meeting, we approved 20 years in the making, if not a little more than that, the light rail extension to Eastridge. It's a big deal. I posted a video for everyone to see. I hope people got a chance to see it, because what it does is instill the possibility, the visual of something like that coming to Gilroy. That would be just so awesome. But finally, it's serving East San Jose. And with respect to high-speed rail, I had a meeting this afternoon with high-speed rail, just a little bit of an update. And they've got it's a 494-mile endeavor. 422 of those 494 miles have been environmentally cleared. $3.3 billion has just been granted by the federal government to do the construction from Merced to Bakersfield. This is like building blocks, getting this going, and that will be the first section that will be completed, and it's expected to have actual trains running on it somewhere between 2030 and 2033. So it's a long ways off before it gets here, but that's the expectation there. San Francisco to Merced is part of what's been environmentally cleared, so as soon as funding is found for that, then advanced design can begin. All right, lastly, I see we have a Gilroyan in the audience who received the 2024 Woman of the Year Award for Women's History Month from Assembly District 28. So I just want to call that out to our very own Maddie Scariot, who's sitting in the back row. Congratulations. All right, that brings us to the consent calendar. I'll first look to see if we have any public comment.
No public comment.
Okay, closing public comment.
A second.
So then a motion by Council Member Tovar and seconded by Council Member Armendariz to approve the consent calendar.
Councilmember Bracco?
Yes.
Councilmember Armendariz?
Yes.
Councilmember Marks?
Yes.
Councilmember Hilton?
Aye.
Councilmember Klein?
Yes.
Councilmember Tovar?
Yes.
Mayor Blankley?
Yes, that passes unanimously. Okay, item 7.
7.1, award a 3-year agreement for citywide Microsoft licenses and services to Dell in the amount of $440,790 with a 10% contingency, utilizing the County of Riverside co-op agreement. Harjot, you'll give us this report.
Yep. Good evening, Mayor, council members, members of the community, Harjot Sangha, Finance Director. Background on this, the city's standardized operating system and applications are of the Microsoft system, so which typically includes all of your Microsoft Office suite, Word, Excel, Outlook, and so forth. From a network standpoint, we're also using Microsoft server applications such as Exchange for email and other database bases to include SQL servers. City also utilizes the Microsoft 365 online app, so essentially making the Microsoft Office suite available online. We conducted a procurement utilizing the County of Riverside Enterprise Agreement, which is a co-op, and we obtained 3 quotes from the authorized vendors. Dell did provide the lowest pricing for the 3-year contract at $440,789. And then our recommendation to the council is to award a 3-year agreement with Microsoft licenses and services to Dell Technologies, and then include a 10% contingency for a total not to exceed $484,869, utilizing the County of Riverside co-op agreement and authorizing the city administrator to execute the purchase contract documents. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Harjot. Council members, any questions?
Mayor, I have a question.
Yes.
Sorry. Thank you for that. Harjot, question. Is it possible to share this cost with for the licensing and software agreement with other cities to help lower the overall cost? Because $484,000 is a lot of money, right? Have we looked into that? Is it possible?
Other cities actually benefit. Instead of us, a couple cities partnering on it, we won't get the discount that we're getting using the County of Riverside co-op. So what you find, a lot of other agencies similar to our size are actually utilizing the county co-op agreement to also procure the services. Right now, they are the ones that are offering the highest level of discount. So they negotiated a really good deal. Typically would be available to agencies that have over 15,000 computers in their systems, which obviously we nearly don't, but they're able to honor those rates. So other cities would take a similar approach.
Right. Okay. But yeah, no, I appreciate that. But and maybe you answered my question. But if we were to partner with Morgan Hill, Salinas, whomever,
sure,
wouldn't it lower our cost if we can? No.
I don't believe so. Given that my procurement agreement, either we would have to offer, we would be able to get a discount by pooling ourselves with other agencies. If we were to do the procurement ourselves by ourselves alone, then definitely much better. But I don't think we'll get the rate that we're getting with the county co-op.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, public comment? No public speakers. Okay, closing public comment. And that. Okay, motion by Councilmember Bracco, seconded by Councilmember Klein to approve.
Councilmember Bracco?
Yes.
Councilmember Armendariz?
Yes.
Councilmember Marks?
Yes.
Councilmember Hilton?
Aye.
Councilmember Klein?
Yes.
Councilmember Tovar?
Yes.
7-0.
Well, I didn't vote.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But
Mayor Blankley.
It is 7-0. Okay. Okay, 7.2. Award a contract to Trinchero Construction for the Gourmet Alley Improvement Project number 24 PW 287 in the amount of $2,975,648. Approve a project contingency of $502,767 and approve a total project expenditure of $3,478,415 for construction of Gourmet Alley. Take it away, Heavy.
Madam Mayor, council members, this agenda item is regarding the construction of the Gourmet Alley Improvement Project. The city was awarded $3.9 million in grant funds through the Caltrans Clean California local grant program. City Council awarded the design contract to CSG in August of 22, and the final project scope proposed for construction include improvements to the infrastructure and aesthetics of the Gourmet Alley between 4th and 6th Streets. City staff advertised the project for construction bids in October of last year, with a due date at the beginning of November of last year. Unfortunately, no bids were received, so staff solicited bids from 3 contractors, and we received 2 bids in return. However, they both exceeded the grant amount. So in December of last year, to avoid the city losing out on the grant, we requested extending the grant deadline for implementation of the project. And staff commenced value engineering and reducing the scope. In January, we solicited bids from Tranchera Construction, and also at the end of January, Caltrans approved the reduced scope, specific improvements, and extended the deadline to the end of this year. Tranchera submitted a bid for the selected items in the amount of $2,975,000. The final project scope include chip seal of the alleyway, as well as slurry seal of the 2 parking lots, the addition of lighting along the alley, the installation of trash enclosures and trash receptacles, landscaping including planters and trees, irrigation, benches, bike racks, general improvements to signage and pavement markings, and limiting access to pedestrians only. The elements that were removed from the scope include a total of 6 planters and 3 trees on the east side of the alley in order to accommodate the movement of and access of fire trucks. Also, 11 poles were removed on the east side of the alley for the same purpose, not to hinder the movement of emergency vehicles. These poles were intended to support the overhead lighting, the string lights, which was eliminated from the scope. I should mention that 13 light poles, 12 planters, and 13 trees will still be added on the west side of Gourmet Alley. Landscaping, trees, and irrigation were eliminated from the scope of the parking lots, and resurfacing of the Gourmet Alley between 6th and 7th Streets was also eliminated to reduce the cost. Given that we're only doing chip seal on the alley, the trench drain was reduced from 4 inches to 6 inches. And the railroad street resurfacing was removed from the scope. Even with the changes in the scope, staff is expecting general improvements to the environment and safety conditions on Gourmet Alley, as shown in the renderings. The project cost, the total grant, is in the amount of $3,960,000. $417,000 approximately was spent on the design services. The total construction bid is $2,975,000, with approximately 17% in contingency. That totals in the amount of $502,000. The total bid and contingency is $3,478,000, to be funded by the Downtown Beautification Fund for 87 and reimbursed by the grant, with the construction support estimated at $65,000. The staff recommendation includes multiple components, which is to award the contract to Tranchero Construction in the amount of $2,975,648, approve a project contingency in the amount of $502,767, approve the total project expenditure of $3,478,415 for construction of the improvements under Public Works Project 287. Also authorize our city administrator to execute the contract and associated documents. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you, Heba. Okay, I've got some myself, but I'll go down. Councilmember Tovar.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the report. I have several questions, and I'll ask a few, and then I'll let others speak as well. Obviously, ask questions, and this is not an attack on you or anyone else. It's just my frustration, right? So I believe the staff report is accurate. I believe that it was announced that we received the grant funding in March of 2022 and not May. That's what the announcement was made in the dispatch on March 11th. So I want to make sure that that information is corrected. I'm looking at this, looking at our staff report, it says May. So just one thing to note. This project should have been done June of 2024, and now we're March 2024. And until tonight, we don't have a contractor, right? So we're looking at 2 years of no contractor, right? Again, it's been over 2 years that we knew that we were going to get $3.9 million, and we have no construction going on. The reason why I bring this up is because we're way behind on this project. And I just honestly, and I've shared this several times, I feel that the city's never made it there's never been a sense of urgency to get this project going. And again, we're talking about almost $4 million of free money. So the question, why didn't the city receive any bids in November?
The city did not receive any bids because of the timeline that was set. It was difficult for the contractors to meet the schedule and therefore did not bid. There was also misunderstanding of some components of the schedule of when to order the items that have a longer duration to receive versus the actual commencement of the construction. And that was later clarified by staff to the contractors.
Okay, so I guess for me, I feel from day one, I feel that we should have been more aggressive in getting more bids, right? I mean, I just don't feel we did that. And it seems that there was nothing done for 4 months from November of 2022 to November 2023 to February of 2024. So I want to lay that out there. But in looking at the Caltrans Clean Cal website, it looks at other cities that received a similar award in 2022 have either completed the project or are almost done with their projects, right? So again, I'm going back to what the concerns that I've had from day one, and this delay in not getting this done by June of this year has cost us money with more increase in construction. So I just want to lay out my frustration from the get-go until we're at today. And again, it's not on you. But again, so can you tell me why there's a $500,000 contingency for possible overruns?
I hear your concerns. I just would like to clarify that the staff working on this project are working very hard. There has been a change in staffing over time. So they basically inherited the projects, and they had to go out for bids more than once. The contingency of 17%, that's the remaining of the grant fund, and we kept it at 17% because we're still hopeful that we actually resurface this section of Gourmet Alley between 6th and 7th. So we're planning to utilize the contingency for work rather than supplement the rest of the work.
Right. Okay. Well, I understand. I don't accept that, but I understand what you're saying. So looking at now where we're at, we have original bid was 3.9,660 something, right? Now we're looking down to 3,400,000. That's taking out the contingency fee. Me personally, knowing, again, nothing was, what you shared with us, there was no information, right? This is the first I'm hearing of what it's going to include. For me, I think that with the $3.478 million, all of that money should be included in the project, right? Because again, I don't want where we end up doing a project, and I'll be careful how I phrase it, but that's not to our standards, right? And I understand, I appreciate that the contractor we're voting on today is local, and I love local business, but I'm just concerned about how this started and where we're at here today, right? Because this $500,000 contingency cost, right? That we should have never been to this point. We should have been, when we had that $3.9 million, we should have went on it really quick, like every other city that got the same grant and is now building and almost completed. So I'm going to leave that, and then I have about 8 more questions, and I'll wait till afterwards. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Hilton.
Thank you. Thank you for the report. So I have a solution, Councilmember Tovar, and a question. So this project is currently in our capital improvement plan, right?
Yes.
Living document can change, things can come and go, things can get funded, not funded. Currently, it's funded for the full project cost, because that's what we did during the budget. Would there be a way that once this project is complete and we know how much we can expend, and if there's no contingencies, like you said, maybe we can use that towards a paving or whatever. Things change all the time. Would there be a way to update this CIP project to unfunded with the estimated cost, right? To complete Railroad Alley, to complete 6th to 7th, whatever's not completed, put that in here, right? Have that as unfunded, but put the cost in there, so that way if there are other grants that come out, if there are other appropriations from our federal and state delegations, if there are excess funds or whatever, we can show that, hey, we funded everything we could, but here's what we still want to do to complete it. So that way it's not completely off the table, which I think would ease a lot of people, especially the community members that are thinking that it's still 4th through 7th. And I have had a hard time following it too, of what's really going to be there. So I think that's a good solution, and hopefully that's something that staff could bring back. Thank you.
Yes, that is the plan. And I should mention that Public Works is coming back with our work plan next month for the City Council consideration.
Thank you. Councilmember Armendariz.
Thank you. Thank you and staff for your hard work and for this report. My question is about access for our emergency vehicles. So if the scope was shrunk and those tasks that would make access easy and adequate for emergency vehicles are being removed, what are we going to do to make sure that they still can access that area?
Actually, we had planters. CSG proposed planters on both sides of the alleyway, as well as poles and trees, which would have restricted the width and prevented access of fire trucks. So we kept the majority of these features on the west side and eliminated the ones on the east side. We are expecting at some point in the future that we will come back to Gourmet Alley, to underground utilities, and at that time we could consider other improvements.
Okay. And there's nothing impeding that passage right now in the alley as it stands?
No.
Okay. And then second question, does being a recipient of this grant, doesn't that qualify us or make us look more favorable to other grants once we complete this? Like I know a lot of grants offer matching funds and things of the sort. So don't we look more favorable in the eyes of grantors?
There are different grant programs, and although they may be managed through Caltrans, they are not necessarily evaluated by the same teams. We could leverage the funds that we are using here in applying for other grants. If that's, then the answer is yes.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
Councilmember Marks.
Yes, I have 3 questions. The pedestrian only, I'm not understanding what that's going to look like. Are you saying pedestrians only in the alleyway so no cars will go through?
Yes.
Now, what happens with the parking lot, though? Because when you pull into the parking lot, you back up, then you have to use some of that alleyway to turn around and leave. Is that still going to be accessible?
The access is going to start right after the access driveway of the parking lot. And I should have mentioned that both parking lots will be reconfigured. So the circulations within the parking lots will be revised, which is part of the reasons that we are going to apply slurry seal, because we're going to change the signage and pavement markings within the lots.
So how many parking places will we be losing in each parking lot?
Actually, I don't have that count, but I don't believe that we will be necessarily losing spaces, but I'll be happy to get back with you.
Okay, because if it's going to be reconfigured and cut down a little bit, I'm just thinking that we are going to lose some. Okay, thank you. Also, with the grant, $3.9 million grant, I understand that we're paying the contractor $2.9, then we have the $500,000 contingency fee. What happened to the other $500,000?
We spent
the design
already.
cost was $500,000.
Yes, we already spent $417,000 on the design. We already paid CSG $417,000, as shown on this slide, for the design. And there is also construction support that CSG will be providing for $65,000.
All right. I am supporting this tonight, but I would be lying if I said I am thrilled to death over this project, because I am disappointed that we did not get the 6 blocks done, and we're only doing 2. Railroad alleyway really needed this badly. In fact, this grant was basically based and given extra points that qualified us to get this grant, because the east side was in a disadvantaged census tract. And now they're not even being addressed. So, and I think you know as well as I do, it's going to be a long time in coming when that is addressed. So anyway, we'll get this part done, but it is disappointing. Okay, thank you.
Mayor, can I ask my district after?
I have some questions. Yeah, and then we'll go to round 2. Okay, Councilmember Klein, you haven't gone yet? Sure.
The money will, December 31st, whatever we don't use will go away, correct? That's not money, whatever we spend in that grant.
We are planning to use the funds. That's why we're putting everything that's left in the contingency, because and we're also planning on implementing the projects efficiently. So hopefully we will have savings, because we would like to resurface the rest of the alley between 6th and 7th and go beyond that.
Okay. I am constantly amazed at how far the dollar does not go. And so that's just, where we are here. I want to clarify, too, that the contingency is not a contingency fee. The contingency is exactly that. And every project we ever approve here has 15%. This is 17% to use up the difference. But it's a contingency that all contracts have, no matter what it is. They are huge at VTA, too. Okay, my question has to do with between 6th and 7th. So we're pretty much going to do everything we had hoped we could do for 4th to 6th on Gourmet Alley, where there are mostly restaurants, where it would be very convenient for pedestrian usage to sit, to hang, to shop, to stroll, those sorts of things. But when you say that from 6th to 7th, which I understand is mostly concrete right now, what will be there for sure? Will there still be trash enclosures, for example? Will there still be something different than what's there today, even if it doesn't include actual paving?
The trash enclosures were never proposed along that segment. So the trash enclosures, per the original plans, are going to be implemented.
Between 6th and 7th? Is that what you just said?
No, between 4th and 6th.
So nothing between 6th and 7th? Right?
Again, we're hoping that we would implement.
I know, you're hoping that there, and if, what is the plan between 6th and 7th if the money is there?
We will apply chip seal between 6th and 7th.
Which is just the ground? It
Yes.
won't change anything along the way? Lighting, nothing?
It depends on the availability of funds. We could potentially.
That's what I'm asking,
Yes.
is what's in the plan if the money is there? And your answer was just the ground. But lighting too, if the money's there?
No, I mentioned the ground given the contingency, and I would like to also try to be careful with managing expectations.
Of course.
But the hope is that we would proceed with the scope as initially was originally planned.
Okay, thank you. All right, Councilmember Tovar, you had another question?
Yeah. So going back, again, regarding the grant, can you tell me, did the city get approval from Caltrans to modify the project so dramatically, right, that it's only to do 4 through 6? Did we get approval from them to do that? Because as Councilmember March said, the east side was one of the main reasons why we got this grant, right? And now you see it's a significantly different project than what we originally envisioned. And the comment about trash enclosures were never part of it. We had the discussion about that because, again, that's a nuisance to our businesses. So can you tell me if Caltrans approved that?
Yes. All the changes were discussed with Caltrans, and they approved all the changes. I hear the concern about Railroad Street, but actually Caltrans' focus in this case was on Gourmet Alley.
Now, kind of piggybacking off the mayor's comments, are they going to be laying the conduit underground lines in this project?
Undergrounding the utilities? No.
Not even in the future? I mean, it's just not something that we're going to end up doing, right?
No, we will try to do in the future.
Okay. Well, all right. Yeah. All right. So going back to the numbers. Original grant was 3.9, 60, 765. From reading the staff report, the design contract was $378,000, right? There's $104,350 that I have no idea what it was used for. Was that also part of the design?
The design ended up costing the city $417,350.
417. So
and actually, the value engineering and the changes in the scope was done in-house because we didn't want to keep CSG and continue with their charges on the project.
So a lot of the work was done in-house, but there still was a large delay. That's what I'm hearing, right? So let me go back to my numbers here. So again, $378,000. I'm going off of this here. So it leaves $104,350, right? Even if the design cost was $417, there's still some money missing somewhere. I don't know where it's at. I mean, again, I wasn't a math major, but I'm just calculating the numbers. So
actually, if we could please look at the slide in front of us. If we add the 417,000 plus the 3,478,000 plus the 65,000 for construction support, it will add up exactly at the grant amount.
Okay, so, and then I'll finish up with saying that, again, going back to my concerns about what the project's going to end up looking like, knowing that now we only have $3,400,000, I'm going to suggest that, again, that we use all of that $3.4 million on the project. And any contingency fees, we should be responsible for paying those if that comes about. Because I'm concerned about again, I'm glad it's a local business. I heard some great things about them, but knowing kind of where we're at now and what costs can rise in the next several months, that there's going to be a lot of corners that are cut in this project. And that's a big concern because, again, it went from a larger scope to a smaller scope project now. So, again, this is, I guess, for the council. Again, it's a discussion that we should have. If they're not in favor of that, then so be it. But I, of course, been one of the biggest advocates for this, but I have a hard time approving it for that reason, right? But, I mean, again, given how long it took, it's like our hands are tied, right? Because we don't want to delay this any longer. So,
okay.
Again, that's
Councilmember, the entire 3.478 is going to this project. So I don't know where that's coming from. 3,478,000 is going to this project. And the other 417,000 was for design of this project. So it's all going to this project.
Okay, so, all right, let me ask this question. Okay. So the original grant award was $3,960,765, right?
Yes.
The design contract, you said 417. Mm-hmm. That's left now is $3,478,000.
Correct.
Right? Then, again, so you're looking at, the contractor bid is $2,975,000.
Yes,
right?
but you have to include a contingency, a
Right.
contract contingency.
So what happens?
It either is spent or it isn't.
Right.
And
So what happens if there's no contingency? What happens to that $500,000?
Then we can do more in this area.
Well, that's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah, well, I thought that's what she said.
It's part of all of our spending. Usually.
I hear you. I understand your concern, and if I would
It's not a
like to
laughing
leave
matter,
you
so
with
I don't appreciate
one
I don't
thing.
appreciate that. So I'm trying to
I
get to
didn't
the bottom
laugh.
of this.
Is
Because
please rest assured that we will try everything we can to implement as much of the improvements as we can. If I'm going to leave you with one conclusion, that would be it.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, another question?
Yeah.
Councilmember Armendariz?
Thank you. Heba, I know it was before your time with us, but I'm wondering if maybe Jimmy could answer. What services were provided? Because I kind of remember us talking about an alleyway cleanup, right, for our areas east of Monterey that are included in our original grant application. And like Councilmember Marks reminded us, drove this grant and for Caltrans.
I can certainly, Ms. Armendariz. This grant is not an infrastructure and really business promotion. It is a beautification and cleanup grant, and there were two components to that. The cleanup part was all the downtown cleanups that happened along Railroad, Monterey, and then Gourmet Alley. And we've done several of those over the last several months. That part of the grant will be over on June 30th. And so then the other part, which was the Railroad Alley and the Gourmet Alley, the primary driver of this grant was Gourmet Alley because of the pedestrian access, the access for people to sit and have spaces, and then the other components were the 6th, the 7th, and Railroad Alley were just going to be pavement projects. So the real driver on this, when we got with Caltrans, which I was in those meetings, several of them, they did everything they could to preserve Gourmet Alley because to them that was the reason for the grant. And so we received one of the largest grants in the state. So your design on that is going to take about a year. We're actually in year 2 right now of the design for the Sharks Arena. So this is an extremely large project, one that we did not get bids on, and the minute we didn't, we called the state and said, what do we want to do? They jumped in and helped us. And so that's, in that sense, that's the best we could possibly do with that situation. So the majority of the improvement, the things that you're going to enjoy are still there. Some of the things about repaving concrete that is only used for pedestrian access, that's what's going away.
And so there won't be repaving on Railroad.
There will not.
And how many cleanup projects were done on Railroad?
We have a total of, I believe, six cleanup
Railroad
projects.
specific?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Okay, Councilmember Hilton?
Just one thing for the record. So back on May 15, 2023 is when we received the design. And so you can see that online, but also there's detailed parking instructions in that agenda packet for anybody who wants to go back and look at it.
Okay, I'd like to go to public comment next. Do we have any?
No public
No
speakers.
public comment on this. Wow, surprised. Okay, closing public comment.
A motion?
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Klein and seconded by Councilmember Bracco to approve. And let's just wait. Councilmember Tovar, you have another question?
Yeah, just real quick. So clarify this. So the dumpsters from 6 and 7, part of the original kind of grant was that those were going to be removed from 6 and 7 and replaced. Is that correct?
As far as I know, and from remembering the plans, there were no dumpsters between 6th and 7th. I mean, the trash enclosures that are planned for implementation, they are between 4th and 6th.
I asked that question. Yeah, I asked it. Yeah. And so,
okay.
Yep. Like I said, nothing's more surprising than how far the dollar does not go. Okay, so we have a motion and a second, and so it's time for a vote.
Councilmember Bracco?
Yes.
Councilmember Armendariz?
Yes.
Councilmember Marks?
Yes.
Councilmember Hilton?
Aye.
Councilmember Klein?
Yes.
Councilmember Tovar?
Yes.
Mayor Blankley?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Heba. That passed unanimously. Okay, item 8, public hearings, we have none. Item 9, unfinished business, we have none. 10.1, introduction of new business, approve a school resource officer MOU for fiscal year 2024-2025. Chief Pedro Espinoza will give us this report.
Madam Mayor, members of council and the community, Captain Jason Smith will present the renewal of the school year 2024-2025 for the school resource officers. Both school resource officers, Andrew Lopez and Dustin Odell, are here as well as district staff. I will be available after for any questions, as well as Captain Smith.
Madam Mayor, members of council, Gilroy community, and thank you, Chief Espinoza, for the introduction. This program and partnership is something that we are extremely proud of. And over the last 30 years, or over 30 years, we've had this partnership with the Gilroy Unified School District in providing SROs in our schools. The only exception was during COVID when the schools were not on campus, so the program took a year's hiatus in 2020 and then resumed in 2021. So we currently have 2 SROs. One is primarily assigned to Gilroy High School, and the other is primarily assigned to Christopher High School. They also service the other high schools and the feeder schools within the district on a regular basis and as issues arise. And to be fully transparent, other than the updated school years and any cost adjustments due to salary changes, the MOU language has been relatively unchanged since 2021. So here are the primary duties of our SROs as written in the MOU. Number 1 is maintain a safe and secure campus for both students and staff. And by far, this is the number 1 duty of SROs, is to keep our children safe and to keep our school staff safe. Preserve life and property in a manner that promotes community, and develop a positive relationship with students, staff, and the community. And with safety and the preservation of life and property being our top priorities, this is really one of the most important aspects of having SROs on campus. Truly, our SROs look at every interaction as an opportunity to have a positive and lasting impact with anyone they contact, no matter what the situation is. Support GUSD staff in securing and transporting prohibited confiscated items. Divert youth away from the criminal justice system through restorative justice programming, such as our youth diversion program. And lastly, connect youth with mental health behavioral services. SRO professional development. So in addition to their mandated in-service training they receive for being a police officer, our SROs have taken a lot of additional classes to further enhance their ability to service our schools. And some of these classes are listed on this slide. They include juvenile justice restorative practices, crisis intervention training, LGBTQ plus awareness, de-escalation techniques, active shooter and school threats training, the annual school safety symposiums they attend, youth diversion training, crisis support 101 for children and adolescents, youth mental first aid, and behavioral threat assessment training, to name a few. So here's a summary of what our SROs have done so far in this current school year. And these are some of the stats that our SROs keep themselves to help track really what they do on while they're working as SROs and how they're utilized in the schools. So far this year, they've assisted in 91 presentations, 236 counseling sessions. They've handled over 700 calls for service that are related to our schools. They've taken 92 reports. They've participated in 24 school-related trainings. They've attended 67 school-related meetings, and really to highlight their availability, especially with the school staff, they were either directly contacted by phone or text 343 times. And these stats were gathered about 2 weeks ago, so they're probably coming up on 400 now.
Excuse me. Is that this school year?
This is all for this school year, correct. So let's look at a juvenile arrest comparison. So there's going to be times where the SRO needs to take some type of enforcement action. And when we say arrest, really what this means is that we're going to issue that individual a juvenile contact report, which is essentially a citation, and then we release them to their parent or guardian. Or then we can take them to juvenile hall, which is extremely, extremely rare. And as you can see, during the 2023 school year, at the schools, or related to the schools, we had a total of 27 arrests. So far this school year, and that was for the entirety of the 23 school year, for this school year, from August until now, we've had a total of 24 arrests, and we have a little over 2 months remaining in the school year. And as I mentioned before, the focus is really to divert as many of these cases as we can away from the juvenile justice system. And many of these cases have been referred to our youth diversion program. So once they successfully complete that program, the case is closed and it's literally erased.
Captain, and the community arrests, how many of those arrests are of students that were first contacted through the schools?
I don't have a breakdown of that.
Okay.
So the way that we gathered the stats, the number of arrests that are associated with the schools are the arrests that originated from the school. So if somebody commits a crime outside of the school, let's say at a park away from the schools, and then they're issued a citation at the school, we wouldn't count that as an arrest associated to the school.
Okay.
It's got to originate at the school.
Okay, I would ask that council members say on here, because Councilmember Tovar has been waiting instead of just blurting out a question. Okay, thank you. And if you would prefer as we go, Jason, or do you want to wait till the end?
Whatever's best for council.
Okay, he's going to wait till the end.
Okay. So we'll talk about our partnership. So on March 7th of this year, the Gilroy Unified School District Board unanimously approved the renewal of the 2024-25 SRO program MOU. And part of that was they conducted, as noted in their presentation, the district conducted a survey, and 90% of students, staff, and families support the presence of SROs on campuses. And the survey also overwhelmingly showed that the SROs foster a presence and foster a sense of trust and security within the school campus community. So this is a cost-sharing venture where GUSD contributes 50% of our SRO salaries. And for school year 24-25, the full salary of the two SROs is $602,630, which means GUSD's portion is $301,315. The recommendation. So staff is requesting the City Council to authorize the City Administrator to renew the MOU between the City of Gilroy and the Gilroy Unified School District for the 24-25 school year and continue our long-standing partnership.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Tovar.
Thank you, Mayor. And Captain Smith, thank you for that report. A couple of questions. For Gilroy Unified, including adult ed and preschool, we have 17 total schools, and we have 2 SROs. In your opinion, obviously, do you think that we have enough adequate coverage for all of our schools with just 2 SROs?
What I can tell you is that our SROs work extremely hard, and they're very busy, and they really do the best they can. And when we don't have coverage for one reason or the other, whether they have a training or they're in an important meeting, we supplement that with patrol. So they do work very hard.
Right. So wouldn't, and again, I'm going to make a motion to amend the resolution later on, but wouldn't adding 2 more SROs help kind of, provide more coverage for our schools? Again, we got 17 total schools, only 2 SROs. Would 2 more assist in making sure that we have coverage?
I think very simply put, you mentioned a number of 2. That would double our ability to serve the schools, but that's a very general answer.
Right. Okay. And then the other question, and thank you again. I know we're approving the 1-year agreement, the MOU, but part of my amendment for the resolution is I don't understand why we're doing this annually, why we can't do it every 2 or 3 years, because it's...
Because the school district wants to do it annually.
They do their budgeting.
All right, well, that answers that question, so I won't add that to my amendment. Okay,
All right.
Thank you.
Councilmember Armendariz.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Captain, for the information. I'm wondering if you can help. I had the same question last time, but we didn't get the data on the restorative justice programming and the mental health behavior services. If you could elaborate on how they work, how the referral system works, and if you have the data on how many youth were referred or how many youth were met with for these programs.
I don't have, unfortunately, I don't have the numbers as far as how many kids have been or youth have been referred to our diversion program. But what happens if they commit really any offense outside a sexual assault, domestic violence, a violent felony? We do all we can to get them into our diversion program. And so when we receive a case, let's say there's a fight at school, and we get that case, we refer it to our diversion program. Once they go through that process, if they successfully complete all the components of that, then we remove their name from the record, basically expunged.
And who runs the diversion program?
It's a South County Youth Task Force.
Okay, so I thought. And then do our SROs participate in expulsion hearings?
Let me defer that to, well, actually, the answer is no. He's shaking his head, so they don't. Okay. I'm just making sure.
Okay.
They do
Thank
not.
you. That's
You're
all.
welcome.
Okay, I'm going to go to public first, and then we'll come back for discussion. I see 3 speakers. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so Jason, 2 Jasons, and then Ron Kirkish. So first is Jason Pratico, and then Jason Loxon. If you could please also be up front.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. Thank you, City Council. First and foremost, I would like to thank Officer Odell for his bravery and the work he did to save the students at Luigi Apria the past few weeks, and the fire department for their actions that they took to ensure that the kinder children were not going to be hurt. A lot of what I've heard for tonight is setting up the foundations of our future here in the city of Gilroy as far as developments and building go. But I'm here to speak about the future of the people that are going to reap the benefits of that foundation, which are our children. And our children really need these school resource officers. In a nearby city, not too far from Gilroy, which has a very similar crime rate, their school district, their public school district, has 41 schools, 25,000 students, which equates to 609 students per school. That equals, and they have an average of 1 SRO per 1,000 students. Here, with Gilroy Unified School District and the city of Gilroy, we have 15 schools. Like Council Member Tovar mentioned earlier, 17, but if you take away the 2 adult education, we have 15 with 10,625 students. With Officer Odell and his partner, they have to manage 5,300 students apiece. We, the community, are requesting that they receive support. Support meaning additional SROs. Whether that comes next year or we'd really appreciate it if it comes sooner, maybe through overstrength positions. I don't know how that works with the school district, but if we can find a way, it would greatly be appreciated by the community and by the city. And that's all I have. I thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Jason?
Hello, my name is Jason Loxon. I am father of 2 boys that attend Luigi Aprea, and I just wanted to speak to you about this memorandum. I really, truly hopefully we do approve what's on board tonight, but I think we can do more. Sadly, Gilroy is no stranger to gun violence. Neither are our schools in the country. School shootings are not a question of if, but when. There are many security inadequacies at many of our school sites. The recent events at Luigi have highlighted some areas we need to focus on, but unfortunately it took a major event to reveal them. The Gilroy Unified School District is ill-funded and, as we have found out, ill-prepared for emergencies of the nature we saw at Luigi. I believe we need more SROs to help with this problem. If we had more than 2 to serve all 17 campuses and 10,000 plus students within, then we could leverage them to make some much-needed changes. For example, they could conduct regular security audits, collaborate with principals on the formation of code red procedures, and conduct more trainings with teachers and students. And of course, they should be visible. Visible for anyone with bad ideas and visible to our little ones who can go to school safe in the knowledge that these SROs are here to protect them. They could also be visible to people who like to bend the laws of the road during drop-off and pickup. Our current SROs proved invaluable in preventing what could have been a tragedy. I had coffee with the superintendent, Dr. Munchi, last week, and she had nothing but positive things to say about our SROs and the amazing job that they do. She spoke of how the students love to see their SROs and see them getting regular high fives from many of the students. As a teacher of 16 years myself, I have learned some code phrases often used by school boards and city councils alike. One of them is, we don't have the budget, or we can't afford that, or fixing A means B gets less money. These are words used to dismiss ideas outright. We didn't elect you to hear what you can't do. We elected you because you told us you were problem solvers who can get things done. The problem is our campuses are not secure enough. We need fences, we need cameras, we need more SROs. How about a bond? How about another funding source? How about a grant? We need to look into all these things. Given that school shootings are guaranteed, we cannot allow for the only thing standing between our children and those who would harm them to be luck and hope. We need to be prepared. The only acceptable plan for the next shooting is to be as prepared as possible. We need to work together as a community, a district, and as a city council to protect our most precious resource. Thank you.
Thank you. Ron Kirkish.
Thank you, Mayor, community, and council. I did attend the last school board meeting when they brought this issue up, along with the Luigi Aprea issue. And they voted unanimously, like Captain Smith said, to approve the SRO program continuance. And I hope we can do that tonight, too. A lot of talk was about, do we have enough SROs, even at the meeting at the school board. And tonight we see it again. And Councilman Tovar brought it up, too. I'd like to inform you people, you all, that there is a bill in Sacramento. It's called AB 3038. And it's about regarding school safety. The issue is SROs. That's the prime issue that this bill is about. And the bill started in February recently. And what the bill mandates is that every single school, including charter schools, private schools, have to have an SRO on duty. And because when it's during school time or when there's children present for maybe some other reason, sports or whatever. And because it's a mandate, the state will have to pay for the SRO. So I hope that you will take advantage of this. It's new. It's probably going to be a struggle to try to get it past the bar. But if we have enough city councils, enough school boards going to your representatives to push this, we could get it passed. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Mayor?
Any other speakers? No. Okay, closing public comment. Councilmember Bracco is waiting to speak.
Okay, well, unfortunately, it's not taken off, so when I'm trying to request, we can't re-request to speak. So
you can. I just would like to get to everybody first, and then before someone else second. So Councilmember Bracco, Councilmember Hilton.
I was just going to mention what Mr. Kirkish brought up.
Okay. So,
Captain, do we know the status of that bill?
I do not. I don't know, Chief, if you have any additional.
The status of that bill is currently in committee. It hasn't made its way to the full legislature yet.
well, and if we're talking about that bill, is it true that if it passes, the state will pay? Because we've got plenty of state mandates that don't mean we get any money.
Mayor, I've read the language of the bill, and it states generally that the state is required to pay for mandates, but that, we know, is not always the case.
Exactly.
So I don't think there's a guarantee that would happen.
Okay. Okay, Councilmember Tovar. Councilmember Hilton, and then Councilmember Tovar.
Thank you. Captain, can you also talk about the asset that I think they both have is that they can both speak Spanish? Is that correct?
Andrew Lopez can speak Spanish. Dustin does not speak very much Spanish.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Tovar?
Well, he probably speaks more Spanish than I do, so. But I would like to make a motion.
I still have some questions.
Okay.
Sorry. Well, you go ahead and make a motion, but I'll.
Can I make a motion?
If you want to make it, go ahead. But I still have some discussion.
Okay, no problem. I would like to make a motion for approval of the agreement between the City of Gilroy and the Gilroy Unified School District for not 2 but 4 SROs for the fiscal year 24-25. That'll be my motion.
Okay, so there's no second, so that fails. Okay, so I would like to, make discussion points. It was wonderful to hear people praising our police officers and our firefighter paramedics, because if it were up to me, we'd have so many more of both in both departments. Our public safety is something that I'm very, very proud of. I think most of us on the council are here in Gilroy, and it's true, we just don't have enough. And it does come down to money, and it is true that if you're going to add here, you have to take away from there. Those things are true. However, we are planning to put a ballot measure on this year, specifically for public safety. Whether or not that includes additional SROs is something that has to be discussed with the school district, because the request for SROs has to initiate from the schools. We can't, as a city council, put police officers on school campuses just because we want to. The school district has to ask for, like, this is starting with the school district. They vote first, then it comes to us. That's how it happens every year, and it's done every year because that is how the school district wants it. The MOU is done every year. So whether or not the bond measure includes more specifically for police, than for fire, wherever it is, that's something that can be discussed. But I personally would like to see our public safety, our firefighters, paramedics, and our police better served with more money to handle all of the public safety needs that Gilroy has. So, but this particular measure is just, this item on our agenda tonight is just to approve what the school district has asked, which is to renew for one more year the 2 officers. And so I would like to make that motion.
I'll second.
And it's seconded by Councilmember Marks. Go ahead, Councilmember Tomar.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for laying out how it all works. And, I know how it works. But when we talked about funding, we have a healthy reserve. Could we not use the general fund to help fund this? Again, I got shot down, but in the future, we have general funds that we could utilize if we decide to add more down the road. Am I correct in saying that? Jimmy?
I don't know if you want to answer that, Jimmy, because our general fund is exactly what we do use for all of our police officers and our fire department. And it doesn't have any leftover money.
Is that the answer,
You're
Jimmy?
talking about reserves.
Yeah, reserves, excuse me.
Oh,
Reserves.
I thought you said general
reserves.
fund.
Sorry about that, reserve.
Well, reserves is a council decision.
Right.
Right, that's what he's talking about.
That's what
Yeah.
Sorry about that, yeah.
I don't know, what is the
Yeah,
question?
no, the question was, again, given that we voted no against it in the future, if we wanted to add more SROs, could we use our reserve to help fund those?
Yes.
So we do have money.
Okay.
That would be a policy question
I
of
know.
the council to determine if they want to use savings and one-time money for ongoing costs.
Exactly. Ongoing costs are not something you want to go into the reserves with. The reserves are how we got through COVID.
Yeah,
So it's just, and nobody shot something down.
Right.
What's before us is what the school district has asked.
Right.
If you want something different, it needs to initiate with the school district.
Right.
And then it comes to council to see how we can fund our 50%. But it's not our decision.
No, I understand
for school
that.
campuses.
I'm not saying it is. I
Okay.
understand it. I understand it's a one-time fund. What I'm saying is if we're going to be proactive in going out looking for grants, whatever it may be, down the road, if we decide next year we want to bring 2 more, we don't have a grant or additional money, we can always go back to our reserve and use that until we find something. That's kind of what I'm laying out.
But the reserve is one.
I understand that.
Okay.
I understand. I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. You want to go ahead and.
Councilmember Bracco?
Yes.
Councilmember Armendariz?
Yes.
Councilmember Marks?
Yes.
Councilmember Hilton?
Aye.
Councilmember Klein?
Yes.
Councilmember Tovar?
Yes.
Mayor Blankley?
Yes. All right, that's unanimous. Okay, that brings us to 10.2, 2023 General Plan and Housing Element Annual Progress Report. Sharon, oh, no, Cindy, going to give us this report.
Good evening. Each year, the city is required to submit an annual progress report to the state on implementation of our general plan and housing element. The general plan was adopted in November 2020 and includes programs anticipated to be implemented over its 20-year horizon. Each year, we like to highlight a few of the programs that have been implemented. In 2023, LAFCO authorized adding approximately 27 acres to our urban service area, and the City Council approved CIP funding for several capital improvements related to streets and utility infrastructure, parks and trails, and general public facilities over the next 5 years. In 2023, the Building Department launched Solar App Plus, a streamlined online permitting process for solar panels, and the city utilized Wordly, an artificial intelligence translation and captioning program for over 50 languages, including Spanish, and you can see that over my head here. The 2023 housing element was adopted in May and certified in August 2023 and includes 7 goals and 65 programs to be implemented over its 8-year planning cycle. The city has made significant progress towards implementation of the housing element as illustrated on this slide and further described in your packet. The city also made progress towards its regional housing needs allocation, which includes 1,773 units spread across 4 broad income categories. As illustrated here, we issued permits for 88 units during the 2023 calendar year, including 38 accessory dwelling units, which are distributed amongst the income categories. With staff, staff is recommending that the council accept this report and direct staff to submit the annual progress report to the state. This concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Cindy. Okay, council members, any questions? I don't see anyone on my board here. Okay, going to public comment.
No public speakers.
Okay, closing public comment.
Motion to accept.
Before we go on,
Yes.
can I ask a question?
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was asking
Yeah,
before.
no, I know.
Okay.
I'm asking a question now. I was going to wait for public comment. Thank you for the report. So, given that the developers are looking to possibly bring in very low, medium, high housing here, so we have the capability of issuing more permits, correct?
So it depends on a developer coming in and applying for the permits.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Okay, seeing no other questions, the motion to accept was Councilmember Armendariz and seconded by Councilmember Martz. So I guess we will vote.
Councilmember Bracco?
Yes.
Councilmember Armendariz?
Yes.
Councilmember Martz?
Yes.
Councilmember Hilton?
Aye.
Councilmember Klein?
Yes.
Councilmember Tovar?
Yes.
Mayor Blankley?
Yes, all right, that's unanimous as well. Thank you, Cindy and Sharon. All right, 10.3, approve the First Amendment. I'm excited to see this one. We've been talking about this at VTA for a long time. Approve the First Amendment to the funding agreement between the city and VTA for the US 101-152 10th Street Interchange Improvement Project and adopt a resolution to amend the city budget to reallocate $600,000 from fiscal year 25 to 24 in Traffic Impact Fund 425 and appropriate proposed expenditure amendment to meet the current city funding obligation of the PA and ED phase of the project. Heba, translate all that.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, honorable council members. This item is regarding the environmental review phase of the US 101 State Route 152 10th Street Interchange project. Initially, VTA allocated $1 million in Measure B funds for the US 101 Buena Vista interchange, the pre-design and design phases. In August of 2020, City Council requested that VTA transfers the Measure B funds from the Buena Vista interchange to the 10th Street interchange project. And in April of 2021, the VTA Board of Directors approved the City Council request and transferred the fund. In November of 21, the VTA Board of Directors approved a prioritized list of 12 projects, including the US 101 State Route 152 10th Street Interchange Improvements Project. And in March of 22, the city entered into a funding agreement with VTA for the project initiation phase using the previously allotted Measure B fund, as well as the city's local match of $120,000. There is a requirement to pay at least 10% by the local agencies as a local match. The project was awarded an additional $7,655,000 of Measure B funds for the following environmental and design phases. And the PIT phase, the project initiation the document was completed in January of this year, and VTA is ready to commence the environmental review phase and requested the city's local match of $600,000. The environmental documents are expected to evaluate three alternatives, the no-build alternative and two build alternatives to accommodate existing and future traffic volumes. It's expected per the city's general plan that each of the east and westbound directions will provide for 3 through lanes, in addition to a two-way cycle track on the south side. As I mentioned, the PIT phase was completed in January of this year. The project approval and environmental documents is expected to take approximately 2 years, commencing in April, subject to council approval tonight. The design, the PSNE phase, will follow, which is also expected to take 2 years from April 26 to May of 28. Both the environmental and the design phases are funded by the additional Measure B funds, in addition to the city's local match. The right-of-way is typically carried out during the design phase. However, we currently are not aware of how much right-of-way will be needed and the cost associated with that. And that component of the work is currently unfunded. The construction phase is also unfunded at this point, which is expected to take place from June 28 to April 30th. But we actually had a meeting earlier today with VTA, and they are already pursuing various funding sources. City Council approved the fiscal year 24 through 28 CIP, including this project, with allocation of funds of $630,000, up to $630,000, using the TIF funds for the environmental review in the next fiscal year. And city staff is recommending that we reallocate these funds from fiscal year 25 to fiscal year 24, and to approve the first amendment of the funding agreement to allow for the environmental phase, including the city's local match of $600,000, which is the lump sum financial contribution. With that, I will be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Heba. Okay, I don't see any on my board, but I have some. Could you, I'd like to ask you to please explain for everybody what this is intended to be in the end. So in 2030, when construction is done, it's way off because everything just takes this long. What is this going to be exactly?
The improvements will involve widening of the overcrossing.
By one lane each direction, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. It will provide 3 through lanes in each direction. It will also provide eastbound right turn lane and westbound 2 left turn lanes. This is in addition to a two-way cycle track on the south side of the overcrossing. The improvements also include widening of the ramps and changes in their configuration and layout, and it's expected to provide HOV lanes. However, these are just concepts that will be evaluated in the next environmental review phase.
Yes, and this is from Chestnut all the way to Camino Arroyo.
Actually, it will go beyond that because we cannot change 3-lane configurations into 2, so it has to be extended. The pavement marking will go beyond Camino Arroyo.
Beyond, so on the east?
On the east
Oh,
side,
beyond on
yes.
the east?
Yes.
Okay. It's pretty exciting. It's a big deal for Gilroy. I know that some who were expecting the 101 Buena Vista interchange to be improved are disappointed, but it's just like with the alleys. You can't, the money just doesn't go far enough to do everything. So anyway, thank you. I wanted that to be explained to everybody. Yes, Councilmember Armendariz.
Also extend westbound
To Chestnut.
To Chestnut, yes. And if I may add that there is a comprehensive community consultation process that will be included in the environmental review phase. We will evaluate the scope, and as we discussed earlier today, we're planning community meetings, not just the typical Caltrans requirements when we have a draft report. We will prepare the community for the upcoming changes.
Yep. Okay, any other questions from council before I ask for public comment? Anybody from the public?
No public comment.
All right, closing public comment. I'll make a motion for approval.
Second.
Did you, Councilmember? Okay, motion by Mayor Blankley and seconded by Councilmember Armendariz.
Councilmember Bracco?
Yes.
Councilmember Armendariz?
Yes.
Councilmember Marks?
Yes.
Councilmember Hilton?
Aye.
Councilmember Klein?
Yes.
Councilmember Tovar?
Yes.
Mayor Blankley?
Yes, that passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. 10.4, consideration of the Arts and Culture Commission's public art campaign for the Love of Gilroy, Streetlight Banner Art. And this report is coming from Bryce, and I see two of our Arts and Culture Commissioners here as well.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. So tonight, this item is a presentation for a public arts campaign from the Arts and Culture Commission with staff support. So in the audience, as you mentioned, is the Arts and Culture Commission subcommittee that developed this program. So Chair Melanie Rainison, Vice Chair Ruben Daravia, and then Commissioner Camille McCormick is also here as well. So they will be presenting the proposal to Council. I'll just have a slight introduction and then close out with some slides of my own at the end. So just a little bit of background. The Arts and Culture Commission is one of the commissions that's in the charter. Two of its functions are to develop programs relating to art, literature, music, and cultural events, as well as fundraising. So the work plan for fiscal year 24 and 25 include 4 key elements: community outreach, elementary and middle school art program support, a cultural event, and fundraising. So the public art campaign for the Love of Gilroy proposes to meet all those work plan intents in one single program. With that, I'll go ahead and call up the subcommittee.
Hello, City Council. I'm happy to be here. My name is Ruben Darío. I'm the Vice Chair of the Arts and Culture Commission, and I'm here with the Chair, Melanie Rainison. And we have a lovely proposal for y'all tonight. Not in the millions or even billions of dollars, so we'll hope to keep it that way. So again, this is for the Love of Gilroy. This is a public arts campaign that the ACC is wanting to propose. Of course, this is a campaign to produce new banners for the downtown area, designed by local artists, launching in April, which is California's designated Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month, which of course the city of Gilroy designated last year, and I believe was up this year as well. Of course, so this is why the arts and culture, of course, of this city, as we all witnessed last year, a very thriving arts and culture scene in downtown and beyond, and I think pushing on that momentum this is what is ahead of us, as well as supporting the creative economy. As an artist myself and a member of the community, and with children who have artistic talents and looking for that in the future, I think they're providing a sustainable creative economy for our artists is of utmost importance, and we believe that the health of our arts and culture and our creative community, you can tell, is a proxy for the health of an entire city as well. So And of course, beautification, which is something that we always have top of mind. We've already spoken about, y'all have already spoken about today. So the beautification of the city, and in particular, in this case, downtown Gilroy. So the scope here is, the theme again, is just promoting arts, culture, and community in Gilroy and South County and beyond. That is the theme. And we've kept it broad for various reasons, and you'll see, and you might be able to tell why. Prioritizing local. So Gilroy residents or Gilroy Unified School District students. So our hope is that we can promote this across the district so that we can get our student involvement, but also focusing on Gilroy residents. Of course, we are also considering an extension of local within 30 miles of Gilroy, so that in case we don't have submissions that meet the guidelines that we're happy with, we want to make sure we keep it local, but prioritizing Gilroy residents. The compensation will be ACC will be submitting for a request for approval from the City Council for up to 12 artists. They'll each be paid $500 for their work upon being selected, and the money will be pulled from the public art and ACC funds. So this won't impact the general fund at all. Again, I mentioned 12 artists, so will be selected, and an additional 12 max will be added through donations and partnerships. Our hope is that we can use this as a spark for the potential sponsorship opportunities that actually ACC is charged to do to fundraise, and our hope is that we can continue to fundraise for moments like this, and hopefully larger, loftier goals in the future for ACC as well. The approval is the final design submissions must meet the design guidelines, obviously, and then we'll eventually come to City Council with a list of artists and artworks that will be recommended for approval by y'all, and that way we'll get into the production phase after that. Go ahead.
So the timeline, as we mentioned, we wanted to get your approval of this whole proposal to move forward during the month of March, and then for April to review the promotional materials and launch the campaign and a call to artists during the last week of April. May and June would be artist submissions, and during July, reviewing, filtering submissions. August 5th would then be the recommendation for approval to City Council to notify the selected artists and to produce and install banners. September, we were hoping to have a public unveiling event.
All right, now moving on to the marketing plan. These are on the screen. You see some of the marketing channels that we hope to utilize, some of which, of course, come in-house from the City of Gilroy. So, of course, the email express newsletters, social media channels, city's website, the common use cases for disseminating information like this. Of course, looking at the district, we're looking at Parent Square, something that I'm on constantly. Gilroy Unified School District, the In Touch newsletter, and potentially connections with Gavilan College through their student engagement program. And then, of course, across the community, we also have the Gilroy Arts Roundtable, which is a collective of over 70 artists and art organizations who are leading the way in Gilroy for arts and culture in the community. So we hope that they will partner and help promote this as well as ACC outreach and tabling. So our hope as part of our work plan, the 2024-25 work plan, is to be out in the community and be tabling more. So this will be one of the things that we can sort of talk about, hopefully landing in line with some of the things that are happening in downtown as we reach the summer. And then, of course, amplification via any other community partners that we might have and any of the sponsors that end up jumping on board as well. And, of course, media, we're going to be looking to have in-kind donations through different media outlets here in town, and, of course, any other folks that sort of come out to support and spread the word. So.
So for the unveiling event in September, the purpose is to host a reception and invite the public to celebrate this program and view the newly installed art banners and acknowledge donors, sponsors, and the City of Gilroy. The location for this event, we're hoping for it, would be the Gilroy Center for the Arts and Donald Elvis Prieto downtown pop-up park area. And the date we're proposing is September 20th of 2024 from 5 to 9 p.m. So utilizing the downtown area and, again, as part of the revitalization and really getting some activity down there and having more arts and culture. For the entertainment, we are hoping for live performances from our local music and cultural groups, many that are part of the Gilroy Arts Roundtable, so we think we'll get some good performances. For food and beverage, we're seeking in-kind donations for refreshments and beverages, including in-kind donation of alcohol if that is permitted. So we weren't sure on that part, but wanted to propose that.
Yeah, very nice job. Except that you let the vice chair go before the chair.
And so just some last logistics. So the approach would be, if approved, we'd issue a call for artists, which would be similar to a request for proposal process, as mentioned with priority for local artists, being Gilroy residents and GSD students. The Arts and Culture Commission will review the designs, recommends to council, but council has final approval of all the designs. The city would then engage artists to complete purchase agreements for the rights to reproduction and to that design. As proposed by the ACC, $500. Contracts will, of course, require parent and guardian for GUSD students and minors that have a banner award by council. And then city crews would then install the flags. The fundraising plan was included in the packet, basically additional banners and services and supplies for the unveiling event. Both the ACC and city staff would have roles in the fundraising, with ACC soliciting for those materials to be donated, and then city staff then process those payments and engage in contracting for in-kind donations, and then obviously issuing the receipts as we go. The fiscal impact proposed is $9,000 total, $7,500 from the Public Art Fund. These would be funding the actual art pieces, the rights purchases, as well as production, and $1,500 from the Arts and Culture Commission Fund for the unveiling event and the outreach materials. The next steps, if approved, the ACC subcommittee will commence work with city staff on the project to bring it to fruition. So at this point, staff is recommending council approval of the public art campaign proposal for the Love of Gilroy. That completes the presentation. Happy to address any questions or comments.
Thank you, Bryce. A lot of us have questions, myself included, but going on the line here, Councilmember Armendariz.
Thank you. Thank you, commissioners, and your whole commission. This is really exciting, and I'm sure it'll be beautiful. My question is, and I know the Arts Roundtable was included in your work plan as to who you'll outreach to, but I'm wondering, through your outreach efforts and your process of choosing the art and choosing the artists, how will you ensure that there is diversity, there's gender equity, and that there's cultural, diversity that reflects our community in the artwork and from the artists?
Yeah, that's a great question. It was addressed by the very ambiguous one-liner in the which was our community partners. So making sure that we reach out to youth organizations in the community, including Garas, Youth Alliance, Digital Nest, Manos, etc., right, to make sure that we have the youth voice, and of course making sure that there's diversity in that space as well of the artists that are selected. I believe among the ACC, we'll make sure to keep that in mind as well, as far as other diversity points that we want to make sure that we have not just age representation, ethnic background, of course also gender as well, and so making sure that we address all those touch points and we make that it is an equitable outcome. So
beautiful, thank you.
Councilmember Bracco.
Yes, on your list of partners there, I think you should touch base with the Chamber of Commerce. I'm sure a lot of businesses in Gilroy would like to sponsor one of these banners. So I think that would be a good resource for you.
Yeah, that is part of our program. We have identified what the amount would be to sponsor an additional banner. So we are proposing to start at 6th Street and work both directions on Monterey for the light posts placement so that it'll be an even number. So with 12 being from the ACC funds, any additional up to 12 more can be sponsored. And so we have an amount when we do that outreach and try to get that fundraising efforts, we can approach businesses and say, you know, one flag, one additional banner would be this amount if you'd like to sponsor.
Okay, Councilmember Tovar.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to both of you and obviously the entire committee. I appreciate the work that you've done. Obviously, I'll vote in favor of this, but trying to give you some background as well, and you may already know this, but as you know, the pop-up park was designed to be more of a community engagement place and not to be confused with the public park, right, because we have those. The downtown committee has recommended that we were going to work with our arts and culture and other agencies because, again, what the vision is for that pop-up park is performing arts, music theme, now that it's being dedicated to, you know, to Donald. So, again, that's kind of where we're headed with that. And I think it'd be a good partnership for us to find out what we can do there as well, right? Again, so I commend you for the work, obviously, and I look forward to seeing how we can kind of partner together to get that pop-up park how we want it. So, thank you.
Okay, I love this idea, and I really love the name, For the Love of Gilroy. So whoever thought of that, great, great.
Yeah.
Seriously, it's great. But on that note, For the Love of Gilroy, I'm just wondering why the artists chosen wouldn't necessarily be from Gilroy. Why you have to go the 30 miles out. It's only 12, and then possibly another 12. So it would seem to me that, the only thing I might recommend changing in here is that they do need to be from, I understand that SV Creates has a different, I know that you work a lot with SV Creates, and I know that in there, what they fund, even though City of Gilroy has matched some too, they expand to Hollister, San Juan Bautista, and Morgan Hill. But I personally would like to see this campaign for Gilroy be for Gilroy artists, because if you don't make it that first, you're not going to know how many Gilroy artists you really have who would, they should feel like that's all you're looking at first. And if you don't get enough submissions after that's all you're looking at, then revisit and see if you need to expand. Is there any reason why you're already putting the language in to expand?
Go ahead.
Go so I think being part of the Gilroy Arts Roundtable, we have found that a lot of people from our real close surrounding communities help support Gilroy and are part of Gilroy. Either they grew up in Gilroy and moved to Morgan Hill, or they work in Gilroy and reside in Watsonville. There's a lot of different components, so they feel this real strong connection to Gilroy and a love for Gilroy. So we didn't want to discourage those people that have supported in so many ways over even the last 2 years to not be included in this. And the same thing for the Unified School District. We do have a lot of students that do not live in Gilroy but attend Gilroy schools. So
right, so I wasn't suggesting that.
Just for the regular public. So it was, I think that was the reason, was for that connection and people that have grown up in Gilroy and maybe just the last year moved, and we didn't want to exclude them.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to elaborate.
No, that was it.
What about students in Gilroy schools who are other than GUSD? Are they being excluded?
I think that's a good question. My nuanced understanding of GUSD and who that includes, I guess, needs to be updated. But I would like any student who goes to school in Gilroy to be included.
Okay.
So that would be
so it would
the
not be just
recommendation.
GUSD then,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I assume that means that there's some schools that are not within GUSD.
Yeah, GUSD is just the public school system.
Perfect. Yeah, got it.
There are schools that are not GUSD.
So we would revise to the naming to include all the schools. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go to public comment first. Do we have anybody?
No public comment.
Okay, then closing public comment. Then I'm going to come back and just try a suggestion. I don't know if it's council support, but I love this whole idea. Love, 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 love. I'm just saying that I really do think it should be Gilroy priority. So whether you're a Gilroy student, it can be that you work in Gilroy too. It just has to be a real Gilroy connection. I personally don't think it should be someone who attends the round table just because the round table exists and they can use the round table for, whatever things they want to further. It should be for Gilroy. And only if you don't get enough submissions from Gilroy should you then come back and ask for something different. That is my suggestion. Okay, so I have
Even with that tight timeline, Mayor, if they included the language with this that you just stated, would you be okay with that? Instead of them having to come back to us to ask.
Oh, yeah,
to move
no,
forward?
do not have to come back and ask us for it. Just include the language that I'm saying, which is just Gilroy.
Yeah. I think
Gilroy
that'd be-
students, Gilroy people who work or live in Gilroy.
That'd be more efficient.
And when I say Gilroy, I mean unincorporated Gilroy as well. I don't mean just city limits, but Gilroy, not Hollister, not Morgan Hill, not San Martin, not San Juan Bautista.
I guess to address that is that that the prioritizing Gilroy, that word prioritizing is what we meant as first fulfilling the slots that we have from Gilroy first, and then if it was to if we didn't get enough submissions, then that's when we would expand our.
Right, but that's when I'd
local
rather than you
definition.
come back to council on
Yeah.
that, because I just think that's going to send a message that you might not get the submissions just because it says you don't actually have to be from Gilroy. Yeah.
Makes sense. Okay. So then just updating the verbiage there to make sure that that's clear with any additional clarifications needed in case there's not enough submissions.
So there would be a reopening of the submission process.
Yeah, which I don't think you need to say anything about.
Yeah.
I'm just
Got it.
saying that, you don't need to,
But
you
it's
don't
just
go
part of
forward
it.
assuming you're not going to get submissions.
Mhm.
You ought to be able to get plenty of submissions.
for
This
sure,
is
yeah,
an
yeah.
awesome thing. And you ought to be able to get plenty from right here in Gilroy.
No, I appreciate
And
that.
that's
perfect.
what I
yeah.
think we need to make our own Gilroyans feel that special first.
So we can say work. So work is fine. Work.
Yeah.
So the connection. Yeah.
There has to be that, here in Gilroy.
Love that.
Yeah, that works.
Okay, so is this something we need a motion for?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, then that's my motion. It was seconded by Councilmember Tovar, so I guess we'll vote.
Councilmember Bracco?
Yes.
Councilmember Armendariz?
Yes.
Councilmember Marks?
Yes.
Councilmember Hilton?
Aye.
Councilmember Klein?
Yes.
Councilmember Tovar?
Yes.
Mayor Blankley?
Yes. Okay, so with those changes. All right, thank you. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Really,
Thank you.
very excited about this. Okay, 10.5, accept the donation of inclusive play equipment from Gilroy Rotary Clubs for the Donald Elvis Prieto Downtown Pop-Up Park.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. So in the audience, we have Kelly Ramirez from the Rotary, who's been the lead on the Rotary side for this donation. So a little bit of background. November 2023, Rotary Club of Gilroy, the Gilroy After Hours Rotary, and the Gilroy Sunrise Rotary notified their intent to submit a grant request to Amazon Web Services. And their submitting of the grant was for inclusive play equipment for a city park. In January 2024, Council adopted the donation and fundraising policy, and based on the nature of the grant and the gifting of the equipment to us, that constitutes a donation under that policy. So a little bit about inclusive play equipment. It's essentially equipment designed to allow all children to play together regardless of abilities, age, or community. It's fully inclusive. Playground is ideal, but it's expensive. So the Rotary Clubs were awarded a grant from AWS for $10,000. Unfortunately, play structures require fall protection, the rubberized matting. Unfortunately, that's just too expensive for the grant amount. But in consultation with Gilroy Parks, a learning wall or interactive play panels was deemed to be cost-effective and met the intent. So the Donald Elvis Prieto Downtown Pop-Up Park was selected to be the inclusive site, mainly because it's also centrally located within the city to hit different neighborhoods on each side. The Rotary worked with the City Parks Division to identify what play panels that would work alongside the sidewalk at the park, and the grants access to those with mobility or balance issues versus grass or dirt turf. grass, turf, or dirt surfacing. Parks and Recreation Commission have issued a recommendation in support of the project and the location. It will be a temporary style of installation and may be relocated as needed based on any redesign of the downtown Poplar Park. So this is a graphic that was produced by Ross Recreation, provided to Gilroy Rotary. The only difference is that the fourth panel on the far right will actually be in alignment when installed, but this is a representation of what those panels are going to be that are going to be donated. Approximately, yes. And so the site location is on here on the map. So it's proposed to run along the edge of the sidewalk that runs north of the Gilroy Center for the Arts, right along the alley. So donation, the equipment and installation hardware will be gifted to the city. If approved, it will be delivered to the corporation yard. A donation form was included in the agenda packet. The donation is valued at approximately $9,300, which is $5,000 or more, so it's the council level for approval and determination of recognition. Staff is recommending that the recognition be an inscription plate placed on the panels, and is proposing the verbiage donated to the community of Gilroy by the Rotary Club of Gilroy, Gilroy After Hours Rotary, and the Gilroy Sunrise Rotary. Fiscal impact, we'll see some staff time, a small increase of existing maintenance at the park, but it's largely going to be absorbed within existing appropriations. And then there'll be a minimal cost for recognition plate. Again, will come out of existing appropriations. If approved, the donation process will be completed, equipment installed, and the implementation of council-determined recognition method would be carried out by staff. So staff's recommendation is for council to accept the donation. I'm happy to address any questions or comments.
All right, thank you. Council members, any questions?
I have a question.
Okay, Councilmember Hilton, you're on the screen. Can I go to him first? Okay,
Yeah.
Councilmember Hilton.
Thank you. So you were saying that communication board goes next to the other one. Is that recommended from like these inclusive playgrounds, or is it, like do they need extra space in between? Like would you get like a bunch of kids like hovering over these 4 items all at once? They're not suggesting any kind of like separation from them.
Not that I'm aware of. The reason for the alignment was to make sure that it was abutting against the sidewalk. So in that alignment that was put in the in the representation was angled, which require somebody that might have a mobility issue to have to come off the sidewalk into grass and turf.
Okay.
And so each of the items, unless I'm corrected, are actually being sold as individual panels. And so we're going to align them in a wall formation.
Connected to each other or space in between?
Connected to each other, but then anchored in a temporary format. So we're not going to put like a concrete foundational slab there. It's going to be buried into the earth to be stable, but not set for a permit. Something that can actually be moved if based on any redesign of the park.
Cool. Thank you.
Councilmember Armendariz.
Thank you. Bryce, can you tell us if there is, or what the proximity would be of other play items to these activity walls?
The closest play item would be the existing chime set that's there.
About how far is that?
Closest. I couldn't say off the top of my head.
Approximately?
It's pretty close to 15 feet, probably.
I was going to say 10 feet.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, just because I noticed that the goal is for inclusive playgrounds, right? Are supposed to be that inclusive, so the rendering looks like it would be isolated. But if there's something close by, then yeah. Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Tovar.
Thank you, Mayor. You answered my question, Bryce. I just want to thank the Rotary Club for this. Obviously, I know the mayor is part of that and others as well.
Yes, but Kelly Ramirez is our
Rotarian
who did this. Yeah, okay.
To Mrs. Ramirez, thank you. Thank you to you and all your members that are doing this for us. I appreciate that. That's it.
Okay, no other questions? All right, public comment.
No public comment.
All right.
Second.
Kelly, did you want to say anything? You don't need to. Okay, so motion by Councilmember Klein, seconded by Councilmember Tovar to accept the donation graciously, gladly.
Councilmember Bracco?
Yes.
Councilmember Armendariz?
Yes.
Councilmember Marks?
Yes.
Councilmember Hilton?
Aye.
Councilmember Klein?
Yes.
Councilmember Tovar?
Yes.
Mayor Blankley?
Yes, and that's unanimous. I need to ask a question on the last agenda item that we just did. Does that, not to stop it from moving forward, but does that need to come back on consent with changed wording, or will staff just change the wording as council directed?
I believe that's a situation where we can do it as staff because it was part of the motion
Yeah.
and direction.
Okay.
Yes, I concur with that.
Okay, and I think they also said that they would not limit it, they would include all the schools in Gilroy, not just GUSD. So if you could make sure that that's in there too. Okay, great, thank you. All right, item 11 is future council-initiated items. We have a request to adopt the same resolution we adopted last year, proclaiming April 2024 Arts and Culture and Creativity Month. It says Bryce is doing the staff report, but I don't know that we need a
Just
staff report.
Motion to
I'll-
approve?
Okay. Oh, yeah.
And I have a short
Sorry, Zach.
comments as well.
No public comment.
Okay, well, if there's no public comment and we already have a motion, then we're ready to go.
Okay, well then I'll add it for discussion.
Okay.
I'd like to propose that we adopt a resolution proclaiming the month of April as Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month. It will be celebrated across our region and state by government and nonprofit organizations. This will highlight our City Council goals and shared goals of our Arts and Culture Commission, Arts Roundtable, and SV Creates. It will show the region that we recognize the crucial role of arts, culture, and creativity in the lives of everyone, while recognizing that the arts and creativity support student success, lifelong learning, provide key job skills, and bring joy to our community while strengthening our connections. I have sample language that I attached in the agenda packet on page 164 to pass along to the city clerk. I'm requesting that this item be brought back as a consent calendar item since we supported this resolution in 2023. Thank you to those that reached out to me in support of this. And with that, I'm happy to answer any clarifying questions or simply second the motion from
Yeah,
Councilmember Armendariz.
this is what we already
Thank
did
you.
last year, so doing it again is just fine. Okay? So we have a motion
We have to
and a
vote.
second then.
Yep, let's vote.
We have to
So the
vote.
motion
Call
was
the question.
Councilmember Armendariz, and it was seconded by Councilmember Hilton.
Councilmember Bracco? Yes. Councilmember Armendariz?
Yes.
Councilmember Marks?
Yes.
Councilmember Hilton?
Aye.
Councilmember Klein?
Yes.
Councilmember Tovar?
Yes.
Mayor Blankley?
Yes, and Jimmy, you're going to make sure that it's consistent, right? You were saying you're going to make sure that the wording is,
Well, we'll transform it into the regular format for our resolution.
exactly. Okay,
Correct.
okay.
Mayor, I have a separate question.
Oh,
Sorry. Yeah. And again, and I don't know how to go about this, and it's not an agenda item, it's a request for a closed session item. So maybe, Andy, do I need to go through the same process, or can I give my request for a closed session?
I think the process is the same.
I think, I don't know if that's yes or no.
Yeah, well, in my view, the process is the same. It should cover all agenda items. I would suggest that you talk to staff and myself about a closed session thing privately also.
Okay, but can I share what my item that I want to bring up for closed session?
No, I think you have to go through the process.
No, I'm not looking for a vote. I want to just share with what my request is going to be.
Under our policy, I don't believe that's appropriate. Under our policy, I think you should go through the process with the memo rather than explaining it now.
Right, and the reason why I'm asking is because I understand we have to write something up, go through Jimmy, but this is in regards to Jimmy. So I don't know if there's a conflict of interest there if I requesting
and
something.
it's definitely not something to be talking about here,
Right, in closed
Okay.
session.
which you have to discuss first. Okay. We're trying to avoid having council members bring things up like that's why we did the policy.
I
So
understand
that you
that.
have to do some looking into yourself as to what it is you're trying to do.
Right, and
Okay.
I understand that, but what I'm trying to get to is if it's a closed session item.
Well, it's tricky because would be closed session. I understand what you're saying. My suggestion is that you talk to me privately
Okay.
about that, and we'll figure out the best way to do that. Okay?
Okay,
Thank
all
you.
right, thank you.
Okay. 12.1, City Administrator's Report.
Madam Mayor, I have no report, but I would like to introduce Chief Wyatt, who is going to give you a demonstration concerning AEDs and mechanical chest compression devices.
Thank you very much. And before I do all of that, I'm going to actually introduce Division Chief of EMS, Arlen Summers. He's actually going to utilize the help of the Chestnut Fire Crew, and they're going to review the public access AEDs that we just purchased. that was approved last year by the council for the last budget cycle. And then they'll also introduce the Lucas device that we purchased back in 2022 based on grant and city funding. So without further ado.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, and the community that's listening this evening. So chain of survival, AEDs and Lucas, I think this is a very important thing to talk about because it's what we do mostly in the fire service as far as EMS response. When I look back at my career, one of the most things that's of benefit that we take to heart is when we saved a life, and that when we know that we get to meet a person face to face after we've revived somebody. The chain of survival, we're going to talk about cardiac events that happen outside the hospital. Looking back on my career, I remember a 16-year-old that was revived with an AED through public access AED as well as bystander CPR. In my career, was given a T-shirt from that young individual who played basketball, and I wore that with pride for many years. On a personal level, in 2022, it was Thanksgiving. My dad actually suffered a cardiac event and had a major heart attack at my sister's house. My mom and my sister performed bystander CPR for 6 minutes until the fire department arrived and revived my dad. He's walking and talking today, and that was back in November of 2022. So this presentation is very important to me, as I know it is to us in this community. So thanks for letting me share some personal stories there. So I want to talk about the chain of survival. As you can see, we have these interlocking links that all form this important process of getting recognition to somebody into the hospital. When we look at the chain, we see at the bottom where we see lay rescuers. The arrow covers the first 3 links in the chain, which is basically before EMS arrives. And so it's important to have city programs and information out there and education to educate people to engage them in this process. So for cardiac arrests, about 436 Americans die from cardiac arrest each year. Out of those, 350,000 occur outside the hospital. And that's almost 1,000 per day in the U.S. So you can see the percentages there. About 72 of them occur in homes or residences, 17% occur in public settings, and a little over 10% occur in nursing homes. And according to the AHA, American Heart Association globally, cardiac arrest claims more lives than colorectal cancer, breast cancer, prostate cancer, influenza, pneumonia, auto accidents, HIV, firearms, and house fires combined. So when we're looking at our community, the statistics here in Gilroy, when running off of our image trend, our EPCR software, for 2023, the whole calendar year, we had 78 total cardiac arrest incidents in the city of Gilroy. So if you note on the bottom there, that's an average of 1 every 4 to 5 days in the city. Of those, 51 were males. The average age was 60. 27 of them were females. The average age was 66. So when we look at some of our data for CPR that was initiated prior to EMS arrival, 33% we found and noted within our PCRs, our patient care reporting, that CPR was delivered before arrival. 62% CPR was not delivered. And obviously that's with the aid of our dispatch, and if the person stays online, they get asked to put the phone down, and they get talked through on a lot of how to do the chest compressions, and the dispatchers do an amazing job to keep the person calm and engaged in doing the compressions until we arrive. So when we look at the first chain is recognition and activation of the emergency response system, and that's just as easy as saying go call 911, or you yourself calling 911. Now that we have our smartphones and speakerphone, you can call 911, listen to the instructions, and get help going. The next thing would be to initiate immediate high-quality CPR, and the emphasis today, as many of you might know, is that it's compressions only, that there's usually enough oxygen within a body to last for several minutes, and that we found that once we initiated the bystander or CPR, save rates increased because people were used to be afraid to do the mouth-to-mouth part of the CPR. So the emphasis has been on hands-only CPR. So for cardiopulmonary resuscitation or CPR, immediate CPR can double or triple the chances of survival. For each minute without CPR, there's a 10% decrease in the survival rate. So it's important that we engage our community and we educate people to recognize right away, make the call, and then get into the second link, which is the bystander CPR. With hands-only CPR, the save rates increased by 30%. So when we look at the next link, we're looking at rapid defibrillation. And so I have one of our new AEDs right here behind me. This is a trainer module. As you see on the PowerPoint on the right, there's the orange AED. We just purchased 17. That's the chief had said, newly purchased these that will be moved into frontline service. So we're going to be swapping out some of our old ones that's harder to maintain or that we can't maintain anymore. And so we'll start to see these orange ones be put into frontline use. And I get a question: if anybody knows where the closest AED to us from the chamber is right now. Right outside. And do we know which one it is? So when we're looking at the yellow, the black, the green, and the white, do we know which one is currently out there? Little quiz question, right? So it's actually the black one, CR Plus, that's out there. And so that's going to be swapped out with one of the new ones. And one of the new ones has, these AEDs have English, Spanish, and French languages, and it provides user pace instructions and feedback on performance. Before we get to that, since I have the model here, would anybody want to come up and actually walk through on how to open that up? It's an automatic defibrillation device. I'm going to get our resuscitative Annie on the table. As soon as you open it up, it actually explains some of the directions of what to do. Would anybody like to do it or walk through it? Anybody feeling brave enough?
Maybe get a staff member.
Maybe voluntold.
All right, so we can model this, and this is a representation of what the AED is going to be able to provide for us. So as soon as we open it up, and it's in a trainer mode. So obviously I have a remote, and it's going to walk through a center.
Follow these instructions. Make sure emergency services are called now.
That's the first step, calling 911.
Begin by exposing patient's bare chest.
So there's start CPR, go get the AED.
Clothing if needed.
Call 911 and then ask the people to come back.
Remove the white square package from lid of AED. Tear open white package across dotted line and remove pads.
You see that
peel one of the white pads completely from blue plastic. Peel one of the white pads completely from blue plastic. Begin pulling from the tabbed corner. This pad can be placed on either of the two locations as shown on pads. Next, peel second white pad from the blue plastic. Firmly place the second pad on the do not touch the patient.
Now we're analyzing the rhythm.
Please wait. Shock advised. Do not touch the patient.
And since it's in automatic mode, there's nothing else that I need to do except listen and pay attention.
Wow. 2.
Standing clear of the patient.
Shock delivered.
Shock delivered. And again,
now safe to touch
not a
the
firefighter, right? Bystander CPR. So now it's okay to touch the patient.
Package from lid of AED.
Why didn't you bounce yet?
Remove CPR device. Place CPR.
So again, this is just the trainer.
This is just the trainer. Between nipples.
So this goes on the chest, and this acts as the identifier, and it provides you feedback on actually how you're doing.
Place heel of other hand directly on top of first hand. Lean over patient with elbows straight. Press the patient's chest down rapidly, 1/3 the depth of chest. Then release.
Now it's going to walk you through the
compressions as instructed. Start compressions. Press, 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 press.
So one thing I do want to note is that this is a trainer, so it's a little bit slow in the lag time, just to make sure that you properly get the right steps that when you actually use the real AED, it's going to walk you, it's going to get you prepared for that. So we talked about The links in the chain of our survival, we talked about our AED, and now we're going to get to the part where EMS is responding. Our advanced emergency medical services, so in Gilroy, we have our typical 3 engines that are in service. On a code type, a call like this, we're responding 3 engines. So as you're going to see in a little bit that it takes more than 3 people to effectively run what we would call a code or a cardiac event. Before they come in, I just want to briefly go over our Lucas device, because you're going to see the Lucas device in action, and it's not that it's traumatizing, but if you hadn't seen this before, it's quite the device that actually frees up our hands and does awesome CPR. So some of the benefits, as you can see in the picture, is that it offers continuous CPR, frees up one person to accomplish additional treatments, maintains consistent depth and rate of compressions, and the save rate increased from 30% to 60% just in the city of Gilroy with the implementation of this device. As the chief had said, we have 4 of these devices within the city of Gilroy, received in August of 2022, with a huge support from our EMS trust fund that covered 63.5% of the department's cost. And now we're going to look at the Gilroy Fire Department's arrival. Engine 149 is going to be arriving on scene. What you see is a picture of the equipment that the first engine company will be bringing inside. And our hope is that this person that was delivering the AED shocks can provide the update on how many shocks were delivered and some of the history that we're going to need for the patient.
So arriving on scene, we have a suspected cardiac arrest patient. First thing we're going to do as we start working on the patient is we're going to stop all bystander CPR. We want to do a quick assessment on the patient just to confirm they are currently in they don't have a rhythm. So I'm going to check for a pulse. I'm going to look, listen, and feel for no more than 10 seconds. I can confirm this patient does not have a pulse. We're going to start CPR. I'm going to have you on chest compressions. Lauren, I'm going to have you managing the airway with the BLS airway. At that point, I want to see if there's any electrocardiac activity, which is what the AED does. But we have our Life Pack 15s, which we use.
So right now, everybody's pretty much getting pointed into a certain position, right? One person doing depressions, another one initiating a BLS or a basic life support airway, and the medics running the call, getting the monitor set up. And we're also asking on the radio ETA for ambulance, because if it's delayed at this point, we need to ask our 3rd and final engine to go respond over to the Sunrise Station and get our rescue medic for transport.
I'm looking for any electrocardiac activity. There is none. We're going to continue CPR for 2 minutes. In 2 minutes, we're going to do a reassessment. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and start to set up my Lucas device, which is a mechanical CPR device that's going to relieve Captain McCall from doing chest compressions.
So one of the things that firefighter Sakai is doing with the airway, he put in an oral airway to keep the tongue from being blocked. If there's any secretions or things that need to be suctioned, we have a suctioning device. Firefighter Sakai is going to be offering feedback on whether the air is actually getting into the chest. He's going to confirm that there's been no resistance and that the oxygen is getting to where it needs to be. Try to limit the amount of time that we're actually not doing compressions by establishing the Luke's device. And you'll see how this changes real quick.
Locked in. Down. So I'm going to press play on this. It's on the chest. It's going to create a suction, and it's going to go ahead and allow for recoil of the pressure of the chest. So now I have Captain McCall here, which I'm going to assign him to do IV. So we can start to give cardiac medications, which are also important. Right now, Lauren, I'm going to have you continue on the BLS airway. Once we get more crews on scene, we're going to go ahead and establish an advanced airway. So in the meantime, Captain McCall, we're going to establish IV or IO, and we're going to get 1 round of IV.
So when we're placing a Lucas device on an individual, there's things like we're gathering history from bystanders or family members that are on scene based on the rhythm and the survivability rate of maybe a short downtime. When we place the Lucas device, we're thinking about moving this patient and getting them to the hospital.
We're still in asystole. We're going to continue CPR.
So we're thinking this is viable, and we're hoping that with medication therapy, we're looking at maybe getting a advanced airway, and then we're hoping that the compressions actually bring some of that heart rate and a positive change to the patient.
FE 1 to 10, expiration 5 of 24. Right patient, low dose, 1 to 10 milligrams, 1 milligram FE going in.
2023, 1 out of FE going in.
And these guys are paying attention, and obviously there's a lot still to do as we're waiting for the ambulance. And our second due engine should be arriving on scene shortly. And we're gonna simulate that.
After that round of epi, It's been 2 minutes of CPR. We're going to say I'm going to go ahead and pause the Lucas device. We're going to do a reassessment on the patient. I don't have a pulse, but I do have electrocardiac activity, so we're going to go ahead and shock this patient. In the meantime, I'm going to continue CPR. I'm going to charge my monitor, charge the 200 joules. We're ready to shock. Everybody stand clear of the patient, clear head to toe. Shock's been delivered. Continue CPR for 2 minutes. Now we want to go and give 300 milligrams of amiodarone.
300 milligrams of amiodarone.
Okay, at this point, we're going to simulate that our second due engine arrived with 3 more personnel. And their roles are going to be?
So at this point, I want to get Captain Phil off of the IVIO. I want to go ahead and assign him on the iPad. He's going to pretty much get all of our patient demographics, any complaints that they had, any medical conditions, medications. So at this point, we're going to consider what we would call H's and T's, which would be reversible factors that we could give a medication, pretty much suspecting why the patient went into cardiac arrest. So I'm going to have you do that for me. Whoever is going to be coming in, I'm going to have you back on the medications. And then at this point, I can have someone go ahead and assist Ty with establishing advanced rate, which would be intubating the patient with a keen vision device. And then from there, if we have an actual person or the ambulance crew, we obviously shock the patient, so we're going to be going to Kaiser. Considering hopefully we're going to get a pulse back. So maybe the next person will grab the backboard, or we're going to start getting the patient ready for transportation.
So there's a big move if this person's upstairs, downstairs, distance to the, whether we can get a gurney in. There's different tools that we can use that get this patient scoop stretcher, and usually the heart, access, and trying to figure out how we can get them to the ambulance as fast as we can. And the captain's finally gotten on the iPad on the EPCR, where now we're documenting stuff within our patient care report.
Pulse, we're going to be transporting this patient from Kaiser San Jose.
So return of spontaneous circulation, or ROSC, means that we're going to be transporting north with typically 2 riders from Gilroy Fire up to San Jose for transport. We confirm all this stuff when on scene, and we mark all these times within the patient care reporting, make sure we send a cell phone and figure out how we're going to get you guys back. But the important thing was that in this scenario, that we were able to get pulses back due to the high-quality bystander CPR, early response of the survival chain, all the way now. And the last part of our chain was to get them to advanced life support and post-cardiac or arrest care at the hospital. Again, the arrows on the top, you can see the emergency department, the cath lab, and the ICU for the follow-up care. Again, just looking at it, good job, guys. Just looking at it, the chain of survival of the 5 chains, when we have this early recognition, when we have the immediate high-quality CPR, the public access AEDs, and we did get 17 new ones, and that's more than what we currently have now, so we're looking at putting more out into the community. Our arrival of EMS and our quick transport to advanced care, we can increase our save rates here in the city of Gilroy. So,
wow.
Is there any questions?
Good job.
Good job, guys.
Can you explain why Kaiser San Jose, just so the general public and everybody understands why you would not go to St. Louis?
I believe it's because of their cath lab and capabilities, right?
Yeah, correct. St. Louis does not have the cath lab or cardiologist on site to pretty much figure out why this patient went into cardiac arrest and pretty much treat the patient. St. Louis is capable of that, so we're going to go to Kaiser since that's our closest standing center.
If they do have a blockage in their coronary arteries, from time of cardiac arrest to stent placement, should be from EMS call to cath lab within 90 minutes, which I'm sure Chief Summers already touched on. That's the goal for us, always 90 minutes for this call.
Thank you. Good job, you guys.
What if it makes a difference in terms of time? What if you don't have the time to get to San Jose? Would you then go to St. Louis, or you are prohibited from going to St. Louis?
That's a judgment call that sometimes happens in the back of the ambulance when, like if you have a difficult airway or there's some extremist circumstances, we can bypass Kaiser and go to St. Louis Hospital. Those are very small parameters. But if the patient does receive a spontaneous circulation or gets pulses back, we're kind of held to the parameters of bringing them to Kaiser San Jose. Basically because it would overwhelm St. Louis' ability to handle them. They would have to interfacility transport that patient out within the next couple hours after receiving him. So we're saving them multiple steps in that initial process by driving the 25 to 30 minutes up the road the first time rather than interfacility transporting them out later. So it does feel like a significant distance when you are in the back of the ambulance, the travel time. But based on geographical location, these are the rules that we have to play with.
And they're the rules, I know. I had the situation with my father, and it would have been some time saving to go to Gilroy. Yep.
And another resource is our area ambulance that's either available or not available. That's to us down here as well. To help that. Yeah. Any additional questions?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, city attorney's reports.
I don't have a dramatic report like this. This is fascinating. But I do want to talk briefly about Supreme Court cases that came out last week on social media, which are important in their own right. You probably have read about them in the paper. There were two cases, and we've actually talked about these cases before with the council. One involved a city manager in a small city in Michigan, and the other involved two school trustees in Poway, California. And the way these cases arise is that the employee or the elected official has a Facebook page or some form of social media, for example, Twitter or something like that, in which they they have personal items, but they also have some things that look either official or semi-official. They get criticism on the site that perhaps get people who make the site very difficult to maintain. They either delete posts or they block those people and then get a suit from them saying that the objectors, the commenters' First Amendment rights have been abridged because this site is actually state action. In other words, the site is actually maintained by the city or the school district or the state, even though it started out as someone's private site. So there were two cases which we had talked about. The first one is the one that the court wrote a long opinion on called Lindke, Lindke v. Freed, F-R-E-E-D. It arose in Michigan, and Freed was a guy who set up a Facebook page as a college student that had a lot of personal matters on it. As he got a little older, he got hired as a city manager of Port Huron, Michigan, and he started putting some city-related content on his site, although it was still a mixed site that had had personal items as well. Somebody started to post criticisms of him and of the city about their COVID response. It got pretty heated, and he ended up deleting posts and then blocking those people from commenting on his Facebook site. They sued. So the legal issue is, was his site a personal site, even though it had some city content and even though he was a city official, or was it in some sense an official city site, in which case his deleting posts or blocking people could have been a violation of the First Amendment? That's the issue. So the Supreme Court took this case and another one and came out with a two-part test. The courts had used various different tests. For example, the Ninth Circuit, which is our circuit in the West Coast here in federal courts, had used a test for media that was probably more appropriate for something like an off-duty policeman gets into a fight, injures somebody. Is the city liable because it was a policeman even though he's off-duty? Those questions arise frequently. So anyway, to summarize, in the case of the city manager, the court concluded that probably his site was a personal site, but it's a fact-intensive inquiry, and so facts have to be weighed and adjudged, which could make these cases very expensive if they ever arise. Here's what the court says, kind of in conclusion. We hold that such speech, well, let me go back. When a government official posts about job-related topics on social media, it can be difficult to tell whether the speech is official or private. We hold, and by the way, this opinion is by Justice Amy Coney Barrett, one of the new justices, we hold that such speech is attributable to the state only if the official, and here's the two-part test, one, possessed actual authority to speak on the state's behalf. And of course, state here means city or whatever public agency. So first is possessed actual authority to speak on the state's behalf, and two, purported to exercise that authority when he spoke on social media. So she gives some examples. For example, a city council member or official who reposts some official city notices but is just informing constituents of this without having an official role to do that, that would be probably private, most likely. She also mentions that it would help to, as she says, had Freed's account carried a label. For example, this is a personal page of James R. Freed, the city manager, or a disclaimer, e.g., the views expressed are strictly my own. He would be entitled to a heavy, though not irrebuttable, presumption that all the posts on his page were personal. But it's so. However, in each case, somebody has to look through the facts. The court she also talks about the difference between deleting a post and blocking a post, which is kind of getting into the technology of companies like Facebook. For example, if the official deletes posts of the critics, then only those posts that are deleted have to be examined to see if they were in some sense official posts. However, if the official blocks the critic, then every post on the site which could have been responded to except the person was blocked has to be looked at. So blocking is a harsher remedy for an official to use, which may lead to the site being deemed to be more of an official site. In any event, the court ends up sending it back for a factual determination. She has one final kind of comment which says, a public official who fails to keep personal posts in a clearly designated personal account therefore exposes himself to greater potential liability for blocking people. So we've talked about this before, about the safest thing to do is, if you're an elected official or a staff member, have two accounts. Have a personal one, have an official one. These kind of cases arise when there are mixed accounts. So in this case, the court decided, although it sent it back to the trial court to figure it out, when reading the opinion, it's pretty clear the court felt this was a personal site. However, in the other case, the Ninth Circuit case involving the school trustees from Poway, California, the Ninth Circuit had decided that these sites were, in fact, official sites, using the Ninth Circuit test, which may or may not be correct now under this, which is not correct under the current Supreme Court decision, which was just expressed. So they sent that back, and they're probably going to overturn that. So it's most likely that the Ninth Circuit case will turn out to be a personal site too. We don't really know. So kind of the moral is, I think it is best to have separate sites. It's best to clearly, if you have a site as a council member or staff, clearly say this is a personal site or it isn't, or it's an official site, and clearly say these are my opinions. We could look also, for example, in the future as to whether the city in our council norms or elsewhere should have some specific guides. We already do have some more general guidance. But one of the tests is a person authorized to speak on the state's behalf. Well, in general, most people aren't. The mayor is authorized in certain circumstances. But in any event, this is now the official way these things have to be decided. The scary part is to get to the Supreme Court is something that involves years of litigation, hundreds of thousands of dollars of attorney's fees, and then it gets sent back down for the court to try to figure it out. So the best approach is always going to be to try to avoid getting to these situations and being very careful about putting official content on a personal site. Anyway, that concludes my report. As I say, it's not dramatic, but it has a lot of impact on, as she says, millions of Americans who have these kind of accounts.
Andy, who is the plaintiff in this case?
The plaintiff were just citizens
Exactly.
who were
That's what I'm
mad
saying. It's not the city. It's not the government.
Right.
No. The government. The government
Right.
is in essence the defendant, because the person, even if it's like this guy, the city manager, I'm sure the city was defending him because the city was being accused in essence of sponsoring his site, even though the city, I'm sure, didn't feel it did.
Well, that's an example of staff, but if it's a council member, we're not employees of the city. So I wasn't asking about the defendant. I was asking about who the plaintiff is, just to make a point that it's because I get people complaining to me all the time, like I can do something about someone else's post, and I can't.
Yeah, the plaintiffs are the people who are just mad because they're getting blocked or deleted.
Yeah, and the other thing is cross-posting. A person can have two separate, like their city council stuff and then their personal, but what happens when they're posting the same thing to both?
Well, then you're mixing, then you're blurring that boundary.
It's the same as if you only had one.
It's not a good idea. Yes.
Right.
You may be creating two
I know
mixed
it's not a good
accounts.
idea, but it's done. So, okay. Thank you.
Mayor, thank you for asking those questions. Andy,
yes.
In line with what the mayor just asked, so if we have to create two accounts, personal and then an official public office account. How do we label those? If I have one, my personal one, if I'm going to do a city council one, do I say, what's the name I'm going to use?
We can talk about that, but my recommendation would be come up with a tagline that's on every page that says, this is an account, this is the personal account of Fred Tovar, it's not an official account.
Right.
The other account would say, this is the account that I use for talking about city business. You might say, by the way, I am not officially authorized to, or whatever that wording is, to be a spokesman of city business, but nonetheless, I am reporting to my constituents, and people can comment on city affairs on this account only. So I think the best thing would be to come up with a really official a couple of lines of text for each account that appears very clearly in the account.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you know the names of mine, right?
Right.
Mayor Marie Blankley
Right.
is the one, and then Marie Patani Blankley is
Got
my
it.
personal. Yeah.
Okay, got it. And then Andy, for this individual, the city manager that got sued, I think you mentioned it. Did the city defend that individual and pay for the legal fees, or is that?
The case doesn't say so. My belief is that probably the city would, because he's being sued for things that allegedly he did as a city employee, even though his defense is, I wasn't doing them as a city employee.
Okay.
So the city probably would end up, he would tender it to the city, and the city would probably have to pick it up. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, that concludes my
Okay,
report.
you want to take us into closed session?
Sure. There are 3 closed sessions. We'll just read the 3 of them. They're all real estate closed sessions. First, and they're all pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8 and Gilroy City Code 17A8. The first involves Gilroy Gardens Theme Park, 3050 Hecker Pass Highway. The APNs are given on the agenda. Negotiators Jimmy Forbes and Victoria Valencia. Other party, Gilroy Gardens Family Theme Park, LLC, under negotiations, price, and terms of payment for sale or lease. The second session involves city-owned 536 acres at Hecker Pass, including Gilroy Gardens Theme Park. Again, the APNs are given on the agenda. Negotiators Jimmy Forbes, Victoria Valencia. Other parties to negotiations, Chris Sutton of Select Contracts. Under negotiations, price and terms of payment for sale or lease. And the third closed session involves properties of the 10th Street Bridge, APNs given on the agenda, Thomas Lucchesa Bridge and the new fire station. Negotiators Jimmy Forbes. Other party, John Felice Jr., Glen Loma Corporation. Under negotiation, price and terms of payment. So we should now take public comment. Then we adjourn to closed session, and in closed session, the first item is to take a vote to remain in closed session. That is a reportable action, which we will tell the clerk.
No public comment.
Okay, closing public comment. So we'll take a 5-minute break and shut everything off.